made 244 for 7. It was a quite remarkable knock that, with plenty of people contributing at the top of the order, but Daniel Sams making 71 from just 24 balls, 6 fours and 6 sixes in that one. Sussex really up against it, but they went so close, 233 for 6. They were just hair's breadth away from chasing that down, what would have been a record target for them, but they came up short in the end. The man who top scored that night for Sussex, Mohammad Rizwan, is not here. He's obviously linking up with the Pakistan squad quite soon for their matches against Sri Lanka. Luke Wright, who also opened with him, of course, is injured. He'll miss the rest of the campaign, that game against Hampshire as well, here at Hove on Sunday. But Ali Orr and Tom Alsop scored runs in the middle order, as did captain Ravi Bopara, who made a half century, and they're all involved as well. So let me just run you through those two teams once again in full. So for Sussex, Josh Philippi back to replace Mohammad Rizwan at the top of the order. He'll also keep wicket. Harrison Ward down to open with him. Could be Ali Orr, Tom Alsop, Ravi Bopara, Delray Rawlins, George Garton, Rashid Khan, Henry Crocombe, Steve Finn and Archie Lenham. And as was mentioned by Paul, the Essex team, Rossington, Das, Pepper, Lawrence, Walter, Wesley, Sams, Harmer, Beard, Allison and Cook. So Paul, obviously we are joint broadcasting this BBC Radio Sussex and BBC Essex, so it's a delight to have Paul Newton here with us. We'll have Dick Davis on commentary as well throughout the evening. But Paul, that game at Chelmsford, that was quite a remarkable game, because that was a record aggregates total for the T20, I believe.
477 runs between the two sides, and such was the magnificence of Sussex's reply that for all but the last couple of overs, they were actually ahead on Duckworth Lewis to actually beat what was Essex's highest ever score, 244, as you say. And it was really down to two things that Essex got home. At a key point in the game, Essex's leg spinner, Matt Critchley, who's sadly out injured at the moment, got 2 wickets in 2 balls. And then Ravi Bopara, who would still have fancied his chances of winning the game for Sussex in the last over. Ravi has spent the majority of his career excelling for Essex, of course, and he very much had in mind to do the same for Sussex. But he'd been bowled 1 ball that was wide of off stump, and that one went through to the keeper, and then he tried it again with an even wider ball and just feathered it through to the wicket keeper. I think, if I remember right, it was Daniel Sams bowling the last over, and it was one of those things. It was so very, very close, and in the end Ravi very, very nearly won it for his new county. So if we get a match half as exciting as that this evening, and whatever happens, you know, I think it's going to be another high-scoring game.
It certainly looks like it. Of course, Hove has produced some high-scoring matches in all competitions this season. Sussex chased down 342 in the county championship in about 70-odd overs just on Wednesday. On that occasion, we had quite a shortish boundary on one side. This pitch is pretty much bang in the middle, but the square boundaries are quite short anyway at Hove. But we are expecting, as Paul says, or hoping for at least another run fest. Just in terms, we're going to hear from Simon Harmer, incidentally, the Essex captain, shortly, but just very quickly, the context of this match. Now, Sussex, it's a free hit for them because they've been eliminated. First time since 2017 that the Sharks will not be in the knockout stages. Essex have 2 goes. Well, they have 2 goes at qualifying for the quarterfinals, but they've got 2 goes tonight, because even if they lose here, a win for Hampshire would put them through, I think. So Essex, though, can be celebrating come 10 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, I mean, although this is not quite true, but it's almost true to say if Gloucestershire fail to win their remaining 2 games, playing away at the Aegeus tonight against Hampshire, then Essex will automatically go through to at least an away quarter-final. If Essex were to win their last 2 games, they'd have a very good chance of qualifying for a home quarter-final. And what they must be aware of is that just because Sussex technically technically don't have anything to play for. I tell you what, sides never have nothing to play for. There's your professional pride, there's your desire to do well in front of your own supporters, and there is no better example of this than the final group game in 2019, a competition that Essex at last, at the 17th attempt, actually won. But not only did they need to beat Kent that night, Essex, they also needed Glamorgan, played 13, won none, to beat Hampshire, played 13, won 8. And, you know, it just looked as if, oh, even if Essex win, you know, that Glamorgan are never going to win their only game of the season. But Glamorgan did. And it just goes to show Glamorgan had nothing more to play for than personal pride, but they made 220 odd, and Hampshire couldn't get past them. So it does show you that the game isn't always about who stands to gain the most. You know, with all the pressure off, a side who technically have got nothing to gain very often play better than when they were desperately trying to go through.
Absolutely, and of course, someone who will not be taking anything for granted is the Essex Eagles captain, Simon Harmer, and he knows just how important the next 48 hours could be for the Eagles. The Essex captain Simon Harmer there talking to BBC Essex's Victoria Polly. That was after the county championship victory over Hampshire, and Paul, that was quite a dramatic one as well. Essex winning that one by 12 runs.
Well, that's right. I mean, it was, when games get as close as that, you could almost describe them both trying to lose rather than to win, because Essex did give rather a lot away, but just when Keith Barker had taken Hampshire to the very brink of victory, admittedly they were down to their last wicket, but they've been scoring the runs in ones, twos and safe boundaries, and Keith Barker suddenly took it into his head that he needed to give Simon Harmer the charge. Whenever people try and give Simon Harmer the charge, yeah, they may hit a couple of sixes, but it's a matter of time before they hole out, and that's exactly what happened. It went straight down long off stroke, and Essex have won by 12 runs, having at one stage looked as if they'd probably win by closer to 100 runs. To be fair to Hampshire, they did play very, very spiritedly in their pursuit of 299. Harmer, of course, had a fantastic match, 15 wickets, but whereas he got 8 for 46 in the first innings, Hampshire decided to set about him in the second innings, and it very nearly won them the game, because yes, he got 7 wickets, but he conceded 161 runs in doing so. That's a figure I don't ever remember him remotely conceding before. So his match figures in the end were 15 for 207.
Let's switch to focus to tonight's T20 Blast action under the lights here at Hove, which have flickered on in the last 5 minutes or so, and we've got yet to see the players come out onto the outfield, but the crowd is starting to fill up. It is a sellout. I can tell you that it's a sellout crowd here at Hove. So the only other place to catch us is here with us on BBC Radio Sussex and BBC Essex. We're also going out around the ground. Give us a wave. I don't know if you can hear us at the moment. We should be able to hear us, but if anybody can give us a wave, there's a couple of people I can see, so that's great. And we're also on the Sussex live stream as well. So a few minutes away from the start, and I can just tell you that in the Test match, by the way, India 329 for 7 was the last score I had. So a real big partnership put on there for the 6th wicket after England chose to field. Sussex have won the toss here in this one and have elected to field. So Essex will be coming out to bat in just a short while's time. In fact, the countdown is now on the big screen away to our right, counting down from 60 seconds, trying to get the crowd G'd up. At the moment, most of them are still trying to find their seats, having come back from various bars and getting all their drinks and chocolates and sweets in. But it's always great when a match is sold out, isn't it? Because it shows the enthusiasm.
Absolutely. For people just tuning in, you're all very, very welcome indeed. BBC Radio Sussex, BBC Essex. Paul Newton here with Andrew Rayburn, and my Essex colleague Dick Davis will also join us for the start of the match. And Sussex lineup: Philippi, Ward, Orr, Allsop, Bopara, the captain, Rawlins, Garton, Khan, Crocombe, Finn and Lenham. Essex: Rossington, Das on debut, Pepper, Lawrence, Walter, Wesley, Sams, Harmer, Beard, Allison and Cook. And just to tell you, Essex have been put into bat, and your match officials today are Mohammed Syed, who I've not seen umpiring before, and Rob White, and the third umpire is none other than Devon Malcolm.
So now you may be able to hear in the background that we do have our teams coming onto the field, led by the aforementioned 2 umpires. Strains of Right Here, Right Now. Fatboy Slim, a local boy, of course. Sussex in their blue, batting in yellow and red. Away from the start of this match, a reminder that in that incredible corresponding fixture just a couple of Fridays ago, what a best we had, a record aggregate, coming up just short, 233 for 6. Can you imagine scoring 233 and not winning the game? So in a moment, Dick Davis will be coming in to join us for the second over. I'll take the first, and just get Para just setting his field. Delray Rawlins, who is going to open up with his left arm spin from C end. There you go, there's some of the crowd. I can still see a few blue seats around. Most people are in now. Few blue seats, but that doesn't mean to say there are tickets available. As I say, is a sellout, which is great news for Sussex tonight, especially as the game, of course, is not a competitive fixture necessarily for them, as Rawlins comes in and bowls the first ball to Adam Rossington, who forces it off the back foot, but it's straight to the man at point, and there's no run. So Essex, of course, can go through with a win, and this one is cut away through cover for 4. So that's the first boundary off the bowling of Delray Rawlins. Adam Rossington is off the mark. 4 for him. That'll settle him nicely, settle him down nicely, and settle Essex down nicely. So it's a good opportune moment to bring in my other colleague from BBC Essex tonight, Dick Davis. Dick, good evening to you.
Good evening. Good evening to you, Andrew, and also good evening to listeners and viewers, we have to say.
Yes, of course, as Rawlins comes in and bowls to Rossington, who forces that down towards long off. It's picked up on the boundary and they'll take a single. So Dick, obviously Essex can go through with a win tonight, so they'll be having that eye on the quarterfinals, but they've obviously got that second chance on Sunday if not.
Well, tomorrow actually.
Oh, tomorrow, sorry, yes.
Yeah, so the only match on tomorrow, they and Glamorgan at Chelmsford, which they wouldn't want it to go to that because Chelmsford were inclined to be a bit of a bogey team to Essex.
Rawlins bowls and Das forces that off the back foot into the leg side and he'll pick up a single. 6 off the over so far, off the first 4 deliveries. Delray Rawlins with his left arm spin. In he comes and bowls. It's a shorter one, which Rossington manages to get out into the leg side. There's a shot at the stumps and it hits, but Rossington was easily in his ground. Some oohs and ahs from the Sussex fans. Well, I don't think they expected that to hit. Whenever
a fielder throws the ball in and it hits the stumps, there's always an oohs and ahs, even if the bloke's home and dry by several feet.
Rawlins comes in and bowls, and an attempted cut off the back foot, but it wasn't really wide enough for him to cut, and he didn't get a big enough contact on it, Das, so there's no run. At the end of the first over, Essex are 7 without loss, and take you through the second over will be BBC Essex's Dick Davis.
Yes, thanks, Andrew. Yes, a satisfactory start. 7 off the first over. I think the first target most sides seem to want to do is to get ideally get 50 up on the board off the opening power play, 6 overs. So if they have done that, obviously if they've only lost at the most 1 or 2 wickets, then they consider themselves in a pretty good position. But yeah, so 7 without loss. Rossington has 6 of them, and he's on strike to Stephen Finn, formerly of Middlesex, of course, who's going to come charging in down the not inconsiderable slope from the Cromwell end. Moves in now, right arm over the wicket to the equally right-handed Rossington, who goes on the back foot and nudges that down backward of square to third man. Well, there's a backward point and there's a third man. It was more or less between the two, but the man at backward point came across to field it. So a single accrues, bringing in Robin Das to face the music. I'm not quite sure if I've ever seen Robin Das play. Well, not at first team level. I've seen him play second team level a few times, but I'm pretty sure this is his debut in this competition. Stand or sit to be corrected, but certainly hasn't played very many games if he has. As Finn moves in again and bowls short of a length, chopped away, well fielded again by a man at backward point.
Yes, superb stop that one.
And who is that at backward point?
I can't quite see actually.
No, right. No. We haven't got. We can see his number 6. We haven't got score.
Oh, it's Ali Orr. Yes, if it's 6, it's Ali Orr.
Oh, Ali Orr.
He's one of the tallest players as well, so that should have been a big clue.
Oh, now Ali Orr, Alistair Orr, I have seen quite recently, and well, did he bat for the second 11 down at Southend? As Finn moves in and bowls, and that's pushed out onto the leg side in the mid-wicket area. Shy comes in and very comfortably taken single.
I am reliably informed by the fine folk at Cricinfo that Robin Das played 1 T20 game against, funnily enough, against Sussex at Chelmsford in 2020.
Oh, right, so this is his debut this year, yes.
Yes. He made 7 runs.
Oh, right. Well, it's not as if he was saying, oh, I love playing against Sussex, I get a hatful of runs, I must play there. So.
He batted down the order at number 7.
Oh, right. OK, Stephen Finn in bowls, and Rossington just plays that fairly defensively, pushing out to mid-on, but he does sort of walk into an attempted run almost, but quickly changes his mind.
You do get that sometimes, don't you? Players who seem to perform well against particular counters.
Yeah, oh yes. I think also it then becomes psychological. You know, if you go to so much of this game is played between the 2 ears and the brain, isn't it? If you go to the wicket fairly confident, then it helps enormously. As That also strays on to a leg stump, I should think, and is pushed out into the onside for a single. I'm watching from very fine third man. Andrew is watching from even finer third man, almost long stop.
Yes. Mind you, in T20, of course, I could be one of them in the prime fielding position.
Yes, with the way they scoop it over the slips, and well, not that you haven't seen too many slips in T20 competition. Yes, one of many shots that have become almost commonplace with the advent of this version of the game. And that's swung away, and it's risky, but safe. But Rossington's heart will have been in his mouth for a little while. Certainly didn't come out of the meat of the bat, probably too high up near the splice, and it spooned out to deep-ish mid-wicket, maybe 2/3 of the way to the boundary. And fortunately from his point of view, landed in no man's land, and he gets away with it. The end of the over, and invariably, when you say the end of the over, you look up at the scoreboard and you have a picture instead, and can't quite see.
12 without loss at the end of the over.
12 without loss. Where is that?
That one's up there. I'm just pointing for Dick.
Oh yes. Sorry.
That's fine. That shot you could hear actually. It was a bit tinny off the bat.
Yes.
Some people went. Well, I imagine most Sussex fans were thinking, there could be a catch on, but as you say, easily dropped between the two converging fielders as Rawlins comes in to bowl this third over. It's swept hard by Rossington, beats the dive of the fielder at square leg and hammers into the advertising boards for 4. A brilliant sweep from Rossington, gets him onto 12 and Essex onto 16 without loss.
Yes, it was a good shot. Yes, I'd forgotten that scoreboard exists over there. I'm glad it does, because that's what a good old-fashioned scoreboard, which they can't replace with pictures of the crowd or adverts or anything. It just shows you the score.
Rawlins comes in and bowls again, and Rossington this time finds a gap on the leg side. Is he going to go for 4? It is. That's beaten the fielder at sort of wide mid-on, and goes down in towards the boundary rope by the hospitality tents. There was the county championship match on Wednesday I was commentating on here, and 1-6 went out onto the roof of the hospitality tents and out into the car park.
Yeah.
We may see a few of those again tonight as Rawlins comes in and bowls, and this time Rossington just gets a single into the leg side. So he moves on to 17. Essex are on 21 without loss, and Sussex yet to make a breakthrough. Rawlins just gets the ball back, is ready at his mark to come past the umpire. He wants a little bit of a field change, does he? Yes, the man at long off is going to come up into a more orthodox mid-off, and mid-on is going to go back. Ravi Vipara trotting back onto long on boundary. This one is played in to the ground, and rather typically it goes in towards where the mid-on was standing, and so he's able to take a single.
Ravi Vipara feels at deepish mid-on. I think we have no excuse not for recognising Ravi Vipara.
Rawlins comes in and bowls again, and this time it's Das who works that into the leg side, and they'll get a single. So at the end of the third over, Das is on 5, Rossington on 18, Essex are on 23 without loss. So a decent start.
Yes.
7.7 is the run rate.
Yeah, pretty useful. Yes, it's on the way towards that ideal of 50 off the first 6. For those who aren't familiar with this ground, it has a considerable slope. I'm pretty sure there isn't any headquarters ground that has a greater slope on it than this. Well, I am sure. And we're watching from the sea end, and it all slopes down towards us, down which Finn moves in now, moves in round the wicket, and it's hit away there again, not out of the meat of the bat, for a single down to deepish mid-wicket in front of the members' area.
Adam Rossington and Steve Finn, of course, would have played together for Middlesex.
Of course they would, yes. Yes, I'd overlooked that. Yes, and then Rossington moved on to Northamptonshire. So yes, the slope. So with one of those hits in the previous over, once it gains a bit of momentum, then it soon runs away down the hill, and that's pulled away. That's what Rossington's been trying to do a couple of times, and instead the less experienced Robin Das shows him how to do it. And that does come out of the middle of the bat and goes out to deep mid-wicket near the changing facilities, and a sign which tells us it's also the indoor school. Yes. So the score moves on to 28 without loss.
Down by the players' pavilion, which which is away to mid-wicket as the batsman is looking.
Finn moves in again and bowls to Das, who pushes that out onto the onside just for a comfortable single. Das moves on to 10, or was he already on 10? No, he moves on to 10 out of Essex's 29 without loss.
So he's got his best T20 score then.
Yes, quite. Yeah, I told you I like playing against Sussex.
Yeah, he's only scored his runs against Sussex.
And Finn turns midway through the over, moves in again, round the wicket, over the wicket rather. And that's just played unusually defensively, Rossington, straight back to the bowler. There was nothing much he could do with a good pitch, well-pitched delivery there, in the right areas, in current parlance. In the right area. Wonderful.
At the end of this over, I'll give some other scores that have matches that have started.
Most of them started a bit before this one,
yes,
didn't they?
6:30ish, I think.
Yeah. And Rossington comes down the wicket, hits it hard, straight, and one couple of bounces and then over the boundary at the far end and crashing into the advertising hoarding, promoting the benefits of the company that promotes this Vitality 20 Blast. We won't mention its name there.
No, of course not. Other life insurance companies are available.
Oh, is that what they do? I wondered. Thank you. Oh, yes, it should. Yes, it only says it in letters about 4 feet high, probably. As Finn moves in again and bowls. And more runs here, or run in the singular, just tucked away back with a square on the onside. And one run a cruise, end of the over, a good profitable over from Essex's point of view. So we've had now 4 overs, and Essex are 34 without loss. Rossington on 24 and Das on 10.
In the Test match, India closed on 338 for 7 at the end of the first day. In the import one, for Essex's benefit in the South Group, Hampshire 13 without loss against Gloucestershire after 2.2 overs. Elsewhere in the South Group, Kent 106 for 2 against Surrey are in the 11th over there. Middlesex 93 for 5 against Somerset in the 15th over. Not going along very quickly there, are they? And Essex, that's this game here, as we've got a change of bowling with George Garton coming on, bowling to Rossington, and Rossington has launched him into the scoreboard for 6 runs. That's a huge hit. Really connected with that one. George Garton, left arm over the wicket. It was pitched in on a length, and Rossington just dispatched him.
Yes, that was a splendid shot there, right out of the meat of the bat, and yeah, as soon as it left the bat, it was bound to clear the boundary, and it did so by a distance.
Garton is running in again, left arm over to Rossington, who started this well. He's gone for the same shot again, and he's found the crowd this time, just wide of the scoreboard, but into the same area, square of the wicket on the leg side, picked it up nicely, swung it away, and that's back-to-back 6s for Adam Rossington.
Yes, it's not a particularly large boundary, that side, the way the wicket is pitched, but on the other hand, that would have cleared it, even if it had been quite considerably longer, especially the first one, which hit the scoreboard nearer the top than the bottom.
Garton running in again, already been hit for 2 6s by Rossington. This one's down the leg side, a swing and a miss from Rossington, but it'll be given as a wide.
The umpires, for those who like to know these sort of things, are Mohammed Syed and Robert White, and the third official, it says, Devon Malcolm.
Yeah, I think he might be the match referee.
Match referee, yes.
Yeah, so yeah, Devon Malcolm, I think I saw down as a match referee for one of the county games last season with Sussex were in, and this time a swing and a miss from Rossington on the offside, a genuine play and miss as Garton came in there. That's a better response, that, isn't it, than
yes,
after being hit for 2 6s.
Yes, it is, very good response.
You always fear for a bowler when they've been hit for 2 6s at the start of the over. You start to think about Nash and Garfield Sobers and all
yes.
that. So Garton coming into bowl to Rossington, is on 36. Garton bowls, it's pushed up to mid-off. They're going to come through for a quick single. They should make it shy of the stumps. Direct hit might have been interesting. Certainly as the umpire was still backpedaling. No, of course, video technology to decide on run-outs. The umpires have to do it the old-fashioned way. I think in Test cricket they do cop out a little bit and rely on the tech even when it's a fairly obvious, clear-cut decision. But in the old days, they'd have just given them out and said, go on, off you go.
I noticed Rossington didn't swing down the wicket and had a word with Das there. I don't know if he was saying that we got away with it, but it was...
Garton's going to come in and bowl to the right-handed Das. He's over the wicket now and he bowls, and Das tries to swing in the same manner as Rossington towards mid-wicket, but he misses and it's through to the wicket-keeper.
Yeah, Rossington, how should we put it, is not the most streamlined of players, so yeah, he probably did struggle more than some might do to get down this end. Although at least it was downhill.
So after this ball, at the end of this 5th over, we'll have an all-Essex commentary team for a few overs with Paul Newton joining, but
we won't be biased, I assure you.
As Garton comes in and bowls to Das, and again Das tries to swing, and that's a miss again as the Seagulls come swooping past our effects mic. That'll sound lovely in the background for you. Yeah, at the end of the over, Essex are 48th without loss at the end of the 5th, so they've made a really good start. They are on for that 50 in the power play very easily. They should surpass it quite easily.
Yes.
So we'll join Dick Davis, and after a few words from him, Paul Newton in the middle for us.
Yep, thanks, Andrew. Yes, Essex are well on target for that. Well, they only need 2 more off the 6th over and they'll have this 50. But you get the impression it's going to be a high-scoring game anyway. It's generally, I think it's a pretty fast-scoring ground, and there is that short boundary over on the opposite side of the pavilion, the east side of the ground. For those who are familiar with this very pleasant ground, certainly one of my favourite on the circuit. Let's make a point of coming down to watch Essex matches at Sussex. Hate to think how long I've been doing it, but always had a good time. And it's Crocombe now from the far end, moves in, bowls, and that's just played with great respect, straight. Well, I say that, I'm not giving it true value there. I thought it was just a defensive push back to the bowler, but he must have timed it exceptionally well, because it made its way up the slight slope to the boundary.
Well, as you were saying, Dick, he's not the most streamlined of players, but what he is very strong indeed. Beautiful bit of timing as well. And basically, you were right, it was just a defensive push, but the outfield is so lightning fast here that even a defensive shot can go to the boundary.
Yes, Henry Crocombe, it's from the far end, the Cromwell Road end, and that's swung away for 4. One bounce down to fine leg, or long leg rather, and more or less bisected 2 fielders, one of whom was on the ring of discs and the other one on the boundary.
Well, so with the bat, Dick, Rossington's taken a long time to find his stride at Essex, but praise be, he got 61, I think it was, against Hampshire the other day. That was the first time he'd scored a half century. He's now only 5 runs short of another one.
Yes, he is indeed. And well, there's 4 more as well, so just to show I can do maths as well. I mean, I think that means he's only 1 away from half century.
Yes, and wasn't that another lovely bit of time?
It was superb.
He just let the ball hit the bat, angled the bat at just the right place so that it would bisect 2 fielders behind the wicket on the offside, and so he's now scored 3 consecutive boundaries here.
Yep.
To 3 different parts of the ground. One straight, the other long leg, that one backward point.
49 off 23 as Henry Crocombe moves in again down the slight slope from the Cromwell Road end, bowls, and that is a good delivery, and it's just played defensively, and it's the fielder himself who picks the ball up, going over slightly to the leg side to pick it up. Very, very pleasant evening. Very, very pleasant drive down in glorious sunshine. At one stage, we looked at the mobile phones or any other means of accessing the website, and it said there was an 82% chance of rain. Well, they don't always get it right. And that's another good delivery, and Rossington Well, he has the luxury of already scoring 12 of this over, so when the good ball comes along, he doesn't have to take a risk. He just pushes it out on the offside. Essex 60 without loss.
Yes, Rossington in each of the last 2 overs has got 12 runs early in the over. Credit to the Sussex bowlers. They've then come back well in the latter part of each over.
Yes, they have indeed. Crocombe moves in again at bowls. And that's very well fielded at backward point. Very well indeed. And it looks as if it had 4 written all over it. But
great stop, Ali Orr again.
Yes, it is Ali Orr, yes. I could see there were only 3 letters in his name, and I was going to go down the list and see how many others only have 3, and the answer is none of them. So, yeah, Ali Orr. End of the over, end of the power play, and Essex, having been put into batter, 61 without loss.
Well, there's a player on each side with just 3 letters to his surname. Robin Das for Essex, Ali Orr for Sussex, and that's the second time Orr has saved a certain boundary and kept it down to no run at all. So very well done to him in his specialist position at backward point. But another good over from an Essex point of view. 13 off that one, 61 for no wicket. That's the end of the power play. But it's not just the runs on the board, because I think Sussex are going to score very quickly as well when it comes to their turn. But it does help if you can get through the power play with either no wicket down or no worse than 2 down. And Essex have some big hitters to come as we see Rawlins back into the attack, slow left arm around the wicket from the C end, and the first delivery yields 1 run to Rossington, who posted his 50 with that single off the last ball of the previous over, and is now on to 51 off just 27 deliveries, 62 for no wicket in the 7th. Rawlins in again, this time bowling Das, and Das has hit this one a long way, could be caught, no! He's dropped on the mid-wicket boundary, and they get through for a single. And Das will breathe again, move on to 11. It was George Garton who, it would have been a good catch if he'd taken it, but having got to the ball, he should have held on to it. It was demanding in that it was coming fast and away to his left. The next one is pulled away toward the square leg boundary. It'll be cut off, and Ali Orr's down there now, and another good bit of fielding, good throw as well. Keeps it down to another single, and the score to 64 without loss. Rossington with that sweep shot along to 52.
Yeah, Garton will probably think he should have held that, because it was sort of shoulder height and not had done the difficult part.
Here's a violent straight hit from Robin Das, and that brings up his second boundary as he moves along to 15. It was hit straight, just favouring the onside. It was in the air, but not a chance to Rawlins, who's a fine athlete. And if it had been closer to him, I'm sure he'd have made a good effort to catch it. And here, that's the first wicket, as Das, not for the first time, takes his eye off the ball in his zeal to hit it a long way. But Essex won't knock him for that, because they've a lot of batting to come. And, there is the first wicket. He departs for 15 as Delray Rawlins gets his first wicket of the evening. 68.
Yes, as you say, it was a useful knock, and the great thing was he got them quickly, and he helped. Okay, so he played second fiddle to Adam Rossington, obviously, but yeah, between them they got Essex into a very good position for the opening partnership and off the opening power play. So 68 is when they lose their first wicket, and Robin Das is the man out for 15, and Essex 68 for 1.
And coming to this is Michael Pepper, who's been a revelation in T20 cricket for Essex this season. He's got, I think it's 3 half-centuries and a couple of near misses. Top score of about 82 not that long ago, a week or so ago. And it's the way he's got them. If he stay in at all, his stroke play is as good as anything you would expect to see. It's spectacular in the extreme. Rawlins will attempt to stop him doing that, and good first delivery has hit the batsman on the pad. Rawlins just looks round at the umpire as though to say any chance there, but it was clearly going down leg side. And so at the end of the over, a better over, a good return to the attack for Delray Rawlins, who was under-bowled in the game at Chelmsford. He bowled 2 overs for 12, but you were left saying, well, why did he only bowl 2? At the end of the over, it's 68 for 1 in 7.
Yes, So an excellent launch pad for Essex, and tempted to say, especially with Rossington still there at the crease and indeed about to face the bowling of Rashid Khan, the board tells us, as indeed does my learned colleague. Over the wicket.
And some splendid sunshine now bursts across the ground. And always here at Hove when the sun shines, it's the most magnificent sight. And of course, we're talking about the 7 o'clock start, so the sunlight is very oblique from the players' point of view.
Yes, if you're out on that deep cover boundary now, then it wouldn't be much help to you, the sun. Far from it. That's another one played by Rossington straight, and this time rather than picking up 4, it's just a single. Brings Michael Pepper down to the business end, and yes, it's a splendid vista from this end.
And the ground has really filled up since the start. There's barely a seat to be seen, and the match is a sellout, so we expected that to happen. Lovely steep stands in the distance there.
Yes,
which a lovely place to watch the game.
Relatively new, but they certainly haven't. I'm not sure if they were there pre-COVID. I don't remember them. They may have been. As that's worked well held at backward point by the time, although by the time he took it, because Pepper was attempting a reverse sweep, by the time he took it, he was really at backward square leg. But yeah, it was a good catch, and Pepper, understandably, is, to say the least, somewhat disappointed to be out for a duck.
He should have given himself a chance to have a look. That was the first ball he received from Rashid Khan, and it's that man again, Ali Orr, with a brilliant catch, diving to his right. It was a reverse sweep hit with Pepper's usual tremendous power, but on this occasion, he has not, or in fact, I think he got 1 run. But disappointing from his point of view, but 69 for 2, and a great catch from Ali Orr would have been a certain boundary had he not dived to his right and plucked it out of thin air.
Yes. He did get a run. Check on the... So I don't think he did. Anyway, where he did or not, it's somewhat immaterial now because it brings Dan Lawrence.
I think you're right. I think he got naught
to the crease, right? And, Khan to bowl to Dan Lawrence. Only recently come back into the Essex side, having been out for a long time for an injury which he sustained at Old Trafford, and he pushes that out on the onside for a single. I always think that, well, most batsmen look to be their most frail, shall we say, or vulnerable early in their innings. But I'm always inclined to think that Lawrence probably more than most. So, but if he gets through 2 or 3 overs, then, well, looking at it with an Essex hat on, then it could be very, very encouraging. That's a good delivery, just played out on the offside.
Yes, you're right. Lawrence, for me, quite often even in championship cricket, attempts the spectacular before he's reached double figures. But if he ever does get in, then he's a very, very fine player.
Yes. And that's hit sort of in to out shot, and a very good, well-executed shot as well by Rossington. And it bounces over the infield once, then maybe once or twice more, and then over the boundary at deep extra cover for 4 runs. Bringing Essex on to 74 for 2 when we're in the 8th over. And Rossington goes on the back foot here, pushes it out for a single down to deep. Long on by definition is deep, who moves into mid-on by the time he fields it. The end of the over, and Essex having been put into bat. 75 for 2.
Good over. Getting rid of the dangerous Michael Pepper for naught, and just generally keeping a lid on the scoring. There was just the 1 shot of any note in that over, that boundary in to out over extra cover from Rossington. He's made 58 from 32 deliveries. His lordship is coming on, as I like to refer to, Ravi Bopara, also known as the Big Bopper, and he's going to be bowling from the CM.
Yes, you always say that he's also known as the Big Bopper, but I think only by you.
Well, yes, but it's me who's doing the talking.
Inevitably.
So, Ravi Puma's a great fan and remains so as he comes in now. So useful with his bowling, let alone his batting. This ball's been driven down the ground. It will be cut off at long off down in front of us. And they get a single as Harrison Ward does the fielding. And the score goes up to 76 for 2. And Rossington up to 59.
Yeah, I don't think Essex listeners need to be reminded that Bopara played for Essex for many, many seasons and was a little bit of a surprise when he left.
Here he comes again, running up this steep slope here away from us, and bowls to Dan Lawrence and bowls him. 3 wickets have gone down in double quick time, and that was like an off-break, that one. Lawrence completely misread it and is clean bowled. A great sight for Bopara, and Essex have declined from a one-time 68 for no wicket to 76 for 3, and they've got to dig in a little bit now because those wickets have gone down in the space of actually only around a dozen deliveries.
Yes, they have. In fact, even fewer than that, because the first wicket fell at the 5th ball of the 6th over, and this fell off the second delivery of the 8th over. So no, you're about right, inevitably. And Ravi Bopara will have got so much satisfaction out of that wicket, and can probably hardly contain himself inside.
No, he's a fantastic cricketer, and his bowling is so wonderfully unconventional, and that one totally bamboozled Lawrence. We said of Bopara that he's got all the tricks in the book, and that was another one, and he's preparing to bowl to the new batsman, who's 6'8" or so of Paul Walter, left-hander. Bopara had just begun his run up there, and I think Walter stood up again because there was a slight change in the field. And Bopara will try again. Bowls to the left-handed Walter. Walter drives powerfully, chase round the boundary for the excellent fieldsman who is Delray Rawlins. He's a beautiful mover, wonderfully lithe, athletic figure. Single only for a lovely extra cover drive from Walter to get off the mark and bring Rossington on 59 back onto strike. And rather important from an Essex point of view that Rossington doesn't now follow the 3 recent departures from the middle.
Yes, it is indeed.
9th over being bowled, put into bat, Essex 77 for 3, but they were 68 without loss. Bopara bowls to Rossington. Rossington waits for this one. There's no... Well, they will get a single because Bopara, for once, has misfielded, of all things, to his own bowling. And there's then a rather untidy piece of play in which the throw that went to the wicket-keeper ended up deflecting off Josh Philippi and going down to short fine leg. And had Essex really been paying attention there, they might have stolen a second gratuitous run. As it is, the score is 78 for 3, and Rossington, with the 1 run he did get, moves along to 60, and Walter is into strikers. We have some not threatening cloud, I think I'm right in saying, but certainly enough to remove the sunshine for the time being. And Bopara switching to round the wicket to the left-handed Walter. Bowls, Walter waits for it, picks up a single down to Rawlins at long off, and 79 for 3. Walter with his 2nd run, and there's been a rapid turnover of Essex batsmen after a good start with no wicket down in the power play, at which point it was 61 for no wicket. It was then 68 for no wicket before Das was caught by Orr off Khan for naught. Sorry, I'm reading you Pepper's dismissal. Das was bowled by Rawlins for 15. Then Pepper was brilliant catch by Orr, a backward square leg off Khan for naught. Here's the next ball from Bopara. Keeps a little bit low. Single down to long on. Rawlins again will run round behind the bowler to do the fielding. Score up to 79 for 3. Rossington ends that over on 61. 9 overs have been bowled. Essex are, in fact, that run's just gone up on the board. It's 80 for 3. The other dismissal in that over. Second ball that Bopara bowled saw off his one-time colleague Dan Lawrence, comprehensively bowled for 1.
Yep, so 3 wickets fell in the space of 9 deliveries, I make it. Yeah, so Essex looking to rebuild, Sussex looking to turn the screw, of course. One more over of my stint, and then Andrew will join Paul. And playing a miss, and the bail came off, but it was a bit of very enthusiastic wicket-keeping there.
Well, it was, in my book, a good piece, because Rossington, for me, had moved a little bit. As it happens, he hadn't strayed out of his ground.
No,
well worth taking the bails off.
It certainly was. Goes on the back foot now. And still Khan bowling from that Cromwell Road end. Plays it backward of square on the offside. All along the ground, for which the fielder will be grateful as the sun's shining. Not quite as brightly as it was, but still enough to inconvenience the fielder.
We've been very lucky, Dick. You and I usually come down here, and the weather is nearly always splendid. And there is a keening onshore breeze, which is quite chilly at times. But apart from that, it's another lovely evening down here in Hove by the sea.
It is indeed. And has pushed away down to long on. Oh yes, it's quite a vigorous breeze. We got here. I say we. I came down with my wife Sarah. We got here quite early and went for a walk along the front, which is almost sort of compulsory if you come to Brighton.
Yes, I did as well.
And it was very, very breezy, and that's lofted away for 6 runs. It's confirmed by the umpire. Backward of square on the onside. So the first boundary that Essex had for a little while, mainly because they've been losing wickets during that period.
Another high-scoring ground with a lightning-fast outfield, having made such a good start. Of course, having lost 3 quick wickets as well, they can't just be careless with the way they play, but that's a much-needed boundary from an Essex point of view.
Yep. And Khan in again to Rossington. Rossington waits for that to come on to him and then pushes it out on the offside. And again, it's that man Orr in the action. I saw him equal a world record for the second 11 down at Garton Park earlier this season. The fastest 50 off, I think it was 12 deliveries. And loud appeal for LBW doesn't meet with the approval of the umpire. So the end of the 10th over, and Essex, having been put into bat, are 89 for 3. Paul Walton on out 3, and Adam Rossington, who's really held the whole innings together, he is on 69. And after a few more words from Paul, he'll be joined by Andrew.
Yep, and certainly that was worth a shout, but I think it probably pitched outside leg stump there, and Rob White declined to raise the finger. And Bopara, meanwhile, will bowl the 11th over. 10 overs gone, 89 for 3 up on the board. And 9 runs off that last over as Bopara's in, bowls to Rossington. Rossington cross-battedly. Not a particularly pleasing shot on the eye, but he picks up a single to Rawlins at long on. Score moving to 90 for 3 as we welcome back Andrew Rayburn.
Yes, it's a bit of a shame really that Pepper was being gone while I was off. I was going to say it was a shame that he wasn't batting in the same match as Phil Salt was playing for Sussex. That would have been good if Salt and Pepper had been in the same team, in the same match.
Very good. You've been working on that.
Oh, I have, all for the last 20 minutes.
A chance not to be missed, and you didn't miss it. Here's Bopara coming round the wicket to the left-handed Walter, and Walter plays it down to long on. A fair number of Sussex listeners will not be particularly familiar with Paul Walter because he's not made too many headlines until this season, but he's been in terrific form for Essex in both red ball and white ball cricket. He's a very, very tall man, 6'8" at least, and he's been playing very, very well. 91 for 3 is the score in the 11th over, and the Sussex skipper Ravi Bopara in and bowls to Rossington. Rossington lofts it back over the bowler's head, but Rawlins, who's again such a good athlete and such a low centre of gravity, nips round and makes nothing of a stop that might have exercised the lesser fieldsman a lot more than it did him. 92 for 3.
Yeah, you're not wrong. He's a bit rapid, and of course in T20, particularly in the later overs, you want your quickest men out on the outfield.
Yes, he's superb. And it's just lovely to watch the way he moves around the field as Bopara's in and bowls to Walter. It's a slightly slower ball, but Walter's got hold of it. He'll pick up probably just a single, because it makes its way pretty quickly out to Garton on the mid-wicket boundary, and the second was never there. So Essex only progressing in singles, and this is all to Sussex's advantage. 93 for 3 in the 11th.
Yeah, Essex just being slowed up a little by those wickets, and I think the last 3 for 8, and now 4 runs off this over so far from Bopara.
Balls to Rossington. Rossington has chipped this one into the onside. Again, probably only be the single, as it's Steve Finn who's fielding on the mid-wicket boundary. 94 for 3. Another superb bit of bowling from Ravi Bopara so far in this over. We're not quite through it yet, but Rossington moves along to 72. Walter back on strike on 5, but there's been no boundary in this over. And will we see one now? Last ball of it. Just gone a little bit darker now. Bopara's in, bowls to Walter, and he's bowled. And Walter was through with the heave there, attempted heave over mid-wicket, long before the ball arrived. Cleverly disguised slower ball from the former Essex man, now captain of Sussex's T20 side. And Walter is out for 5, and he is the 3rd Essex player to be bowled. And pretty much all the times that those 3 players have been bowled, they've played too early at the ball. 94 for 4 at the end of 11 overs.
Yep, another bold and a vital breakthrough for Sussex before Paul Walter could get into his stride. Rossington, of course, remains there on 72 from 42 deliveries. He's been the one constant at the top of the order in this innings for Essex. He'll be looking to try and obviously personal milestones are great and everything, and you don't get too many centuries in T20 cricket, but it's all about trying to get Essex up to a total which they will be happy to try and go and defend. The theory goes, in one-day cricket, the theory goes that you double the projected score at 30 overs, and in T20, double it at 12 overs. Well, if we do that, Essex will be well on course for 190 or 200, I would imagine, because we're about to see the 12th over to be bowled, and it's going to be Archie Lenham, the leg-spinning teenager, to come into the attack. Very tricky customer, Archie. Can sometimes, as leg spinners can, go for runs, but he can also pick up vital wickets. He's coming in now and bowls to Rossington, and Rossington launches him out through the covers, and it's one bounce in front of the boundary rope for 4. So that's what Rossington thinks. He's not going to let Lenham settle into any groove at all. So an important boundary that from Rossington.
Yeah, nice pick-up in the key match at the Ageas from an Essex point of view, because if Gloucestershire don't beat Hampshire tonight, then Essex will definitely qualify. Hampshire are 50 for 2 in 9.3 overs.
Lenham comes in and bowls, and Rossington again tries to find that space in the through covers, and it's 4 more. So he's pretty much carbon copy of the previous shots, and it's a exact same result, 4 runs.
Kentler 169 for 5 at the Oval. And Surrey, who were unbeatable for the first 11 games, have just faltered a bit of late, and if they were to lose tonight, there'd be a hat-trick of defeats.
As Lenham comes in, and this time Rossington drives him up, down the ground, and over the rope for 6. So Adam Rossington is not going to be letting the teenager Archie Lenham settle here. No doubt about that. He's launched that one straight down the ground, as straight as a die, really. You could not have wished for anything straighter, really, I don't think.
No, 14 off 3 balls now for Rossington, who's playing magnificently here. 86 not out. And just to give you the other score, Middlesex a bit of a recovery, 160 for 6 at Lords against Somerset, and that's the end of their 20 overs.
Lenham comes in 4, 4 and 6 in this over to Rossington, who sweeps backward of square on the leg side. He's going to get a single to take himself on to 87. And I can tell you that this is now Adam Rossington's highest score in T20 cricket. His previous best was 85, so with that previous 6, he's gone to his new highest score in T20 cricket.
Well, he really wasn't coming off. He got 30-odd in the first game at Canterbury, way back at the start of the group stage, and then had about 10 innings where he never really got much past 20th at all. But having made 61 in the Championship the other day, suddenly in rip-roaring form, he's been magnificent here tonight.
Lenham is going to bowl now to Wesley. Wesley drives, but he can only find the man at short extra cover, so that's a dot ball, which is vital in T20.
Scores 109, and Rossington's got 87 of them.
Yeah, it just shows, doesn't it? As Archie Lenham comes in and bowls to Tom Wesley. Wesley plays that to long on. He'll come through for a single, so he'll pinch the strike at the end of the 12th over. Essex are 110 for 4. So as I say, if you keep that maxim that you can double the score at 12 overs, then by crikey, Essex are on for another big total.
Yep, 16 came off that 12th over from Archie Lenham. He was a little bit unlucky in that he came on bowling to the one Essex batsman who's really been in charge here. And even in that opening partnership of 68 with Robin Das got 15 of those. And since then, 3 of Essex's best have all gone in single figures. Pepper without scoring, Lawrence for 1, and Walter for 5. 2 wickets for Ravi Bopara, just preparing to bowl his 3rd over here. The 13th of the innings, 12 overs gone, 110 for 4 put into bat. And Rossington on 87. Can Bopara now get him out? He bowls now, gives us plenty of air, and it's been nicely stroked into the offside. The ball is half stopped. They're going to come back for a second, and although the throw is on its way, it was thrown off balance, understandably, from backward point. And 2 runs to the Essex Red Ball skipper. Tom Wesley takes him along to 3, 112 for 4.
That's Ravi Bopara's 13th ball in this innings. He's yet to concede a boundary.
I mean, I remember a game against Somerset at Chelmsford where Somerset got 225 and Bopara's figures, this is in the 20-over game, was 3 for 18. And you'd say, well, how could he keep it so quiet and everybody else proved so expensive? But that's how good he can be. And certainly is proving it tonight. He would, of course, particularly be on his mettle against his former county. And, of course, he got 51 and almost won Sussex the game at Chelmsford a couple of weeks ago as Bopara runs up the slope. Past umpire Mohammed Syed, and this ball is stroked elegantly into the offside, almost placidly, considering this is a T20 game, and there's always just going to be a single there. Rossington will come back into strike. Wesley with the single moves on to 4, and it is 113 for 4 in 12.2 overs.
What's interesting is that Bopara's best figures in T20 in his career, 6 for 16.
Yeah, he's had his moments, to say the very least. Here's the next ball, and it's smashed down the ground, and that's very well fielded at long off by Harrison Ward, and it keeps it down to a single, nicely struck by Rossington. 88 off 47 deliveries for him, 114 for 4 in the 13th over.
Bopara's bowling really tightly here, really well. The Essex batsman, even the well-set Rossington, can't necessarily get him away at the moment.
Bopara bowls to Wesley. Wesley extravagantly off the back foot, but it's going straight to Harrison Ward and will be just a comfortable single, no more. 115 for 4. Wesley moves up to 5, and Essex will just be glad that there's only one more over of Bopara for them to negotiate after this one.
Why do you think he's being so successful? He seems to be taking the pace off quite a bit, doesn't he?
Exactly. He's very clever variations. He's a wonderful cricketer. Always thoroughly enjoyed watching him play, and an excellent fellow with it. As here's the next ball, and an attempted on drive from Rossington takes an inside edge and disappears for a single. Nicely stopped down there at short fine leg, keeping it down to the single. But 116 for 4, so 1 ball left of this over. 12.5 gone. Wesley into strike on 5, but after an expensive over, the previous over went for 16. This is just what the doctor ordered from a Sussex point of view, and the skipper himself doing the honours as he comes in now. The sun has returned. It's a lovely sight here. here, sellout crowd. Popara bowls, and Wesley has hit this powerfully down the ground, but again, only straight to Harrison Ward. 6 to Wesley with the single. 117 for 4 in 13 overs. And I think that's, yes, it is. It's exactly 9 and over. So Sussex have really kept the lid on things since the wickets started falling. Those of Das for 15, Pepper for 0, Lawrence for 1, and Walter for 5. 2 wickets there for the magnificent Popara, and Essex put into bat 117 for 4 in 13 with 89 to Rossington and 6 to Wesley.
Well, after Essex went on at 12 and over at Chelmsford, it's almost walking pace for the Eagles tonight.
Absolutely. There's been some very good bowling and fielding. And it looks as if Delray Rawlins is going to be given the 4th over, and how Sussex must have wished he'd bowled his full 4 at Chelmsford when his just 2 overs that he bowled only conceded 12.
In comes Rawlins now and bowls. It's been attempted cut, but ended up playing it through wide mid off for a single by Wesley. Moves on to 7, and Essex to 118 for 4.
Just looking at who's to come for Essex, it's Sams, who got 71 in the reverse fixture, due in next, and then Harmer, Beard, Allison and Cook.
Rawlins 1 for 26 so far from his 3.1 overs. He comes in and bowls. It's been lofted high into the air. Is this going to be caught or 6? It's 6. A leap from long off, sorry, but it won't. You need to be 12 foot tall. You need Steve Finn standing on top of Steve Finn to be able to reach that one. And it went just into sort of the 2nd or 3rd row of those seats at the Cromwell Road end. So 6 more to Rossington, who moves on to 95. He's 1 more big blow away from a century. Rawlins comes in. He's been dismissed as a stumped. He came, shuffled down a bit, out of his crease, and Delroy Rawlins makes the big breakthrough of Adam Rossington, who has made his best T20 score, but he's fallen 5 runs short of a century. It would have been. He gets pats on the back from the Sussex fielders as he leaves. He'll be disappointed not to make the ton, but he has made a massive contribution to the Essex score so far. In fact, he scored most of their runs. Rossington out for 95. Delroy Rawlins strikes, and now, as you say, Daniel Sams, who's scored all those big runs at Chelmsford, he'll be looking to try and be the finisher again in this Essex innings.
Yep, perfectly described, and it was a clever bit of bowling from Rawlins. Actually, he deliberately bowled a quicker, wider delivery, and Rossington, in trying to reach it, had stepped out of his ground. Lovely bit of work by the wicketkeeper Josh Philippi there, flicked the bails off in an instant, and although Rossington quickly got back into his ground, not quickly enough, and you could see even from where we're sitting that he had been stumped there. Fine bowling, fine wicket keeping. 124 for 5. Big blow for Sussex that to get rid of Rossington, who was really launching out, and made a magnificent 95 by a long way, his top innings for Essex. And it's easy to see now why Essex were so keen to sign him just before the start of the season. So Sams, can he repeat his heroics of the reverse fixture when he got 71 off just 24 deliveries? As Andrew was saying at the head of the programme, Essex could do with that here.
Rawlins comes in and bowls to the aforementioned Sam, who's clipped that through mid-wicket to Archie Lenham, who had just been brought up at that stage from a different fielding position by Ravi Bopara, who having a decent game, I think, as skipper, Ravi Bopara at the moment. And but what Essex do have is a situation they haven't had in this match so far. It's 2 relatively new batsmen at the crease, and this time Wesley tries to force that one off the back foot. He can only succeed in playing it straight back to Rawlins, who's just going to quickly get back into his delivery position and come in and bowl the last ball of this over to Wesley. Wesley gets an edge down towards sort of a short third man, and it's going to be a single to him. Wesley is 8 not out, Sam's 1 not out, and Essex at the end of the 14th over are 126 for 5.
There's an interesting score from elsewhere to give you. Well, 2 interesting scores in the key match that affects Essex's chances of going through to the knockout stages. Not going that well, actually. They are 60 for 3, just to reiterate. Hampshire v Gloucester. Hampshire 60 for 3 and 11.2 overs, so they're not scoring at all quickly. Gloucestershire, if they lose that game, Essex would go through. But at the moment, you'd have to say Gloucestershire are in with a favourites chance. But what about this? A moment or two ago, Kent, where I think I said 156 for 5 against Surrey at the Oval. Well, from the first of the remaining 2 overs, Kent have taken an incredible number of runs. It looks like 29 came off the 19th over. Wow. Suddenly 185 for 5, and Surrey in danger of losing the 3rd game running. Popara to bowl his 4th and final over from C end. Lovely sunshine, full ground. Bowls. This ball's been hit down the ground, and it's 1 bounce 4. Got hold of that one nicely there, did Wesley. And Essex will be looking to their red ball skipper to dig them out of a little bit of a rut they've got into here, and but for the magnificence of Rossington's 95, they really would be struggling. But that takes the score to 130 for 5 in 14.1, and Wesley moves into double figures now on 12, and Bopara comes in, bowls to Wesley, who tries to smite the next ball, but the harder he tried to hit that, he's looking at the bottom of his bat. It was another well-disguised slower ball from the Sussex skipper, and deceived Wesley there, who was playing too early at it, as have other Essex batsmen generally. Bopara repeatedly taking the pace off the ball. Runs up from the C end. Bowls to Wesley. And Wesley has hammered this one, and it's put down at extra cover. The fieldsman did well, I thought, to get there and save 3 runs, because that was going to absolutely rocket to the boundary. It was a difficult chance to Rashid Khan, I think. And but nevertheless, 131 for 5 in 14.3.
Yeah, it was travelling. I think it's one of those ones where you have to say good stop rather than...
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can cling on to those if you just have the guts, I suppose. Literally.
Bopara bowls, and ball Sams is away here, playing it to wide-ish long on. You certainly won't be taking a second run to Rawlins, and the score to 132 for 5, and Sams, a fairly conservative start, has just got a couple of singles from the 2 balls he's faced, and Wesley back into strike on 13.
Yeah, you mentioned Surrey, of course, with those back-to-back defeats. We're watching the only 2 sides to beat them in T20 Blast competition this season, Essex and Sussex.
Yes, although there may be a 3rd one after tonight. As here's the next delivery, and this ball has been hit probably for 6. It's a beautiful pick-up from Wesley there. That's a terrific shot. Hit off.
That was coming your way.
It was indeed, and needless to say, I didn't manage to catch it. But joking apart, we are behind the glass screen here. And scored to 138 for 5 in the 15th over, with Wesley on to 19.
Yes, Delroy Rawlins just clambered over the fence, the advertising hoardings, to come and rescue the ball right in front of us. Hit straight towards us. There was, of course, that famous moment at Glamorgan where I think one of our BBC colleagues, Edward Bevan, got hit by a ball that came crashing through the glass.
Indeed, great Eddie Bevan. It's last ball of the 15th, and this ball's been hit down the ground, and it's just lands in front of Delroy Rawlins, who typically manages to keep it down to the single. 139 for 5 in 15. Wesley with the single to 20. Sams has 2. Wesley will keep the strike. 5 overs to go. Commentary to Andrew Rayburn, and he'll be joined by Dick Davis.
Yes, indeed. So we'll see what pressure Essex can apply in the final 5 overs. 139 for 5. Well, I mean, they're currently going along at 9.3. So another 5 overs of that would give them roughly 45 to 50 runs, of course. So they're looking at certainly looking to try and get towards 185, 190 from here. But when you try and swing and put pressure on fielders late on, it can produce wickets, of course, but you're more likely to find boundaries too. Rashid Khan bowling that one to Wesley, who's played that out to mid-wicket. I've taken a single, 140 for 5. joined again by Dick. So Essex, how are they looking, do you reckon, at this stage?
It's a bit touch and go. This last 5 overs are going to be crucial, I think. Well, I'm sure they are in most innings, but...
Rashid Khan just bowling to Sams, who pushes that up towards mid-long off, and they've taken a single. Rashid Khan couldn't quite field it off his own bowling. He's managed to run through. Sams 3 from 3, which looks like him just settling in before he tries to maybe launch a finishing onslaught. Now Wesley's backed away to try to cut it through cover, but what fine fielding there to deny Wesley a run as we tick towards 8 o'clock. Of course, the cut-off is 8:18 for the first innings as Khan comes in and bowls, and this time it's well met by Wesley, swung high and for 6. He's got that one away out of the meat of the bat through mid-wicket. And as soon as he hit it, he picked that one up nicely. As soon as he hit it, you knew it was going all the way.
Yeah, certainly did. Yes, I'd have thought, from what we've seen, fast boundaries and short on one side, 190, I'd have thought would be the minimum that Essex, well, even then they won't feel comfortable by any means, but they'll feel at least they've got something to bowl at.
Absolutely, as Rashid Khan comes in again to Wesley, who this time manages to get it up towards long on and only takes a single. Rawlins fielding been very tidy on the rope. So the Rashid Khan field, there's a man out at deep backward point, man out at deep mid-wicket who was never going to get to that 6. This one is just fiddled round past the wicket-keeper for a single. Good sprawling stop. And it's a single, moves Wesley on to 28. So when are we going to see Sams take off, do we think? How long will he give himself before he looks to...
Well, only 4 overs to go. I suppose he could have the luxury of having one more, but I'd have thought the last... Yeah, he can't afford to put it off too much longer, I wouldn't have thought, really.
149 for 5, 4 overs to be bowled, and the first of them will be described by BBC Essex's Dick Davis.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Just looking up to see what Papara's figures were. We know they were very economical. And, unsurprisingly, well, I wouldn't say he's reserved his best for playing Essex, but he's always a canny practitioner. But anyway, we're going to see George Garton, who didn't have a very successful opening spell. Well, the spell comprised 1 over, actually, which went for 14. So he'll certainly be looking to improve that. Papara took 2 for 30. As Garton moves in. Left arm over the wicket. And Sams waits for that and then declines to play it. It was well outside the off stump. It was indeed signalled a wide.
The crowd weren't impressed, but...
Well, no, of course not. They wouldn't be, would they? I'm sure they wouldn't be at Chelmsford either.
He tried to sort of bowl a slightly slower one and got it all a little bit wrong, and Sams left it sensibly. Moves
in now and bowls. And that's also outside the off stump, but this time umpire side thinks it's
playing a miss, that one.
Within the regulations. So Daniel Sams rather has had a mixed season, which is a bit of a euphemism, probably. As the next delivery comes in and bowls to the Australian, and he's put that away for 6, a very, very long way. It's out of the ground, and there are apartment blocks on 2 sides of this ground. And oh no, it didn't go out of the ground. No, a little lad in a grey shirt has retrieved it.
It certainly went out of beyond the hospitality up the end of the ground, and there are people on balconies watching from the flats by that end of the ground. I think they did slightly shirk away from it at one point, but
yes, there is quite a high wall, isn't there, at the back of those hospitality outfits? So. Probably bounced off that. That's driven straight for a single. They'll come back. No, they won't come back for a 2.
Excellent.
Combination of Ward and Rawlins field that between them, and restricts Essex to 1 more. onto their score, which is now 157 for 5. We're midway through the 17th over, 2.5 to go.
Yeah, good. Harrison Ward did the sliding to pick up and then
3.5 to go, sorry.
Threw the ball to Rawlins to then throw in.
Wesley on strike, patting the crease, goes on the back foot, plays that down to shortish third man, but deep enough to accommodate the taking of a single very comfortably. 158 for 5, going at a rate of 9.5 and over, the scoreboard tells us. Very good information. Sussex scoreboard give us.
I must admit, Sussex will probably need a wicket or two to check Essex's progress, because if these two are still in with a couple of overs to go and they've got themselves bedded in, then we could see some carnage.
Could be, yes. As Garton moves in again, he decides to go round the wicket, and it's another wide though still, so he's still not having a particularly happy time.
And he's inquiring to the umpire about that one, but the umpire, I think, is talking about the fact that his delivery position was fairly wide. Anyway, it's a wide nonetheless. 159 for 5. Garton around the wicket.
Moves in again. Bowls to Sams, and that wraps Sams on the pad, looking to hit it on the onside. Wraps his pad in self-rebuke that he didn't make more of that one, and they just scampered through for a single.
Rawlins appears to be the designated clapper. There's always one, and Rawlins applauding that one from Garton, who got it, as you say, right into the sort of body, and gave Sams no room to work with, really. When you're bowling round the wicket to the right-hander, you've got to try and keep it straight. Yes.
Gone to Wesley. And Wesley's hit that, and well, it's down towards us, but just away to our right, over deep, long on, and into the hospitality marquees again, just away to our right, but not out of the ground. The ball comes back very quickly. So 6 more, the end of the over, and Essex have moved on to 166 for 5. Excuse me chuckling, but apparently Paul Newton's already booked a table for us to have a curry after the match, and here he is about a yard to my left, and what's he tucking into avariciously, but or avariciously even, no, which is it, hungrily, but a curry.
Well, let's just call it his early starter.
I suppose so, yes.
I mean, we'll gloss over the poppadom as well, but
yeah. Oh yes.
He'd forgotten that, right? He's gonna. So whilst we'll move on from MasterChef to the live cricket, as Essex look to build on 166 for 5. Rashid Khan comes in to bowl, and Sams plays that away through mid-wicket. They're going to run the first one hard, but they can't get back for the second. Good bit of fielding, and probably a sensible decision not to go for that second. 167 for 5. So Rashid Khan, 1 for 27, his figures thus far. And that one has been hit oddly down the. Oh, it hit the non-striking batsman, did it?
Certainly did, yes.
Yeah, it is back. Yeah, I heard sort of 2 noises, but yes, so it was driven down the ground, and yeah, came off the bat of the non-striking batsman. So it was a single for Wesley in the end, and hit Sams, and he's now going to be on strike as Rashid Khan comes in and bowls, and Sams forces that into the offside through the covers, and there's going to be a single there. Yeah, and it's sort of spooned away up into a vacant area, luckily for Essex. Could have been a very odd wicket, like we said in the Test match against New Zealand. So Wesley on 36 and 21. Rashid Khan just directing the traffic at the moment. He comes in now and bowls, and bottom edge of the bat really for that one through mid-wicket. They're going to pick up a single. Most fielders out on the circle or beyond. So I think Sussex will be happy though to offer Essex little singles here and there.
Yes, they need to look for the boundaries. Well, I'm sure they're looking for the boundaries. They need to find the batting boundaries from their point of view.
Rashid Khan comes in and bowls, and this one is hit down the ground and taken by Delray Rawlins at long on. So disappointment for Daniel Sams as he falls to 13. Sussex have a 6th wicket and Rashid Khan chips in again. He's been a fantastic servant to Sussex in this form of the game over the last few years. One of the world's premier indeed for so long, ranked the world's top T20 bowler in international cricket, and he's chipped in with another wicket there. We mentioned that Essex were looking to try and find the boundary. This time they could only find the grateful hands of Delray Rawlins.
Yes, who had to sort of stoop down a little bit, probably took it to just below knee height, but some fielders, you know, when the ball's going towards them, they just give the impression that they ain't going to drop it, and sure enough, that was the case there. So out of the 5th ball of the 18th over.
70 for 6, and that brings the Essex captain Simon Harmer to the crease. What he can do with the ball, let's see what he can do with the bat in these latter stages.
That comes down to face Khan. Now, had the same situation happened in any of the preceding years of cricket, however long it's been played, it would probably be Westley facing now, but under the new regulation, even if the batsman crosses while the ball is in the air, it's still the new batsman who has to come to the business end, which I think is absolutely right.
Rashid Khan comes in and bowls. Oh, and he's bowled him, has he? Yes, I think he has.
He has.
And so Rashid Khan strikes 2 wickets in 2 balls, and Harmer has to go.
Well, 170 for 7 after 18 overs.
So Rashid Khan really has made a difference in the last in this over, certainly at the final ball of his contribution this evening. And so he's taken 2 wickets in 2 balls to finish with figures of 4 overs, no maiden, 3 for 30. 6 dot balls included in, well, 7 actually, I suppose, if that's going to go to change to reflect the wicket. Only went for 1 4, but also 2 6s. So when you've bowled 24 balls in T20 cricket, to only go for 3 boundaries is not a bad effort. No,
it's not. Stephen Finn going to bowl the penultimate over from the C end. The end from which we commentate.
He's gone for 16 from his 2 overs thus far.
And from which, and at which they're doing fairly major building works just by the entrance on the left-hand side. Anybody who knows this ground.
The old cricketer's arms pub, I think.
It will return, presumably.
I have no idea.
No.
Not au fait with the...
I'm sure there'd be a local uprising if the pub didn't return.
Will be a new pub.
Thank you.
We are confirmed in my ear, thanks to
yes.
Producer Tim back at base.
Thank you.
He says the first drinks is on him. Well, everybody around the ground's heard that, Tim. So
well, I certainly did.
It's an expensive round.
As Finn moves in, right arm over the wicket, and that's hit away for 6. It was just out of the reach at Rawlins at deep mid wicket. Well, wideish long on, and they didn't clear the boundary by a lot. And had Rawlins actually made that ground, which for a start would have meant he'd had the speed of a greyhound, but had he made it, he'd probably just about been within his reach. 176 for 7.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? With one of those ones with Rawlins where you have to kind of have eyes everywhere. He was looking towards the ball, then he had to see a fielder converging towards him, and he's got the boundary rope and the advertising board.
Yes, but it's come back to that after this delivery, which attempt to repeat the shot, and a swing and a miss, and it goes through to the keeper. But it's an indication of how good Rawlins is as a fielder, that he's basically fielding it long on at both ends, because he took that catch to dismiss Daniel Sams a good 150 yards away, and now he's just hasn't quite taken that one, but it was very near him at deep long on this end. Finn moves in again and bowls to Westley. Westley guides that down to third man for 4, just out of the reach at the man at short third man, or yes, short third man on the ring of discs, and it goes down to the boundary, fairly near the pavilion and the little areas where they change. I'm glad to report that Paul's finished his curry. Listeners will be pleased to know.
His first curry.
Oh, sorry, yes, his first curry of the day.
He's got a first innings and a second innings tonight.
If he leaves but a grain of rice tonight when we go from here afterwards, I shall...
be furious.
I will indeed.
Force it down him.
Yes.
Steve Finn, we haven't missed anything because Steve Finn has just been in conference. In fact, I'm not sure he's entirely field right. Oh,
halfway through the 19th over as Finn moves in again to bowl to Wesley, who goes for the big hit, but it's a slow delivery, and as so many batsmen have done this evening, some to their cost. He was through the shot before the ball really arrived, and it went through to the wicket-keeper.
10 off this over so far, 2 balls remain in it.
180. More known as a darts score than a cricket score, but so Essex, yeah, they'll be hoping for 190 something, and that's played out down for a single out into the covers, and the end of the over. I was going to say it comes after this next delivery. Honest Gov, no, I wasn't. I just got it wrong, and. It's Aaron Beard. I don't think we pointed out it was Aaron Beard, the Essex seamer, who bowls right arm over, but bats left-handed.
Had a loan spell briefly with...
Oh yes, he did, didn't he, down here? Yes.
Earlier in the season.
Bowled very, very well against Hampshire in the championship game. Obviously, he played second fiddle to Harmer, but nobody can bowl at both ends. And yeah, he picked up several wickets himself and bowled a really, really good spell as he now faces up. And that's a bouncer. It's a wide. It goes over the batsman's head for four wides. And although he's a seam bowler and sometimes an opening seam bowler, Aaron Beard isn't a very tall chap. And he had no trouble ducking out of the way of it, but it was very wide. Quite a long conversation now between Finn and the umpire. If we'd have gone onto the scoreboard, because it was a wide plus and then the boundary, yes, so 186 for 7. I'm not quite sure what the gist of that conversation was. It seemed a pretty obvious decision for the umpire to come to. And Finn, what I know of him, and I've met him once, is a great gentleman, so I'm sure it was only an inquiry rather than any form of dissent. As he moves in now, bowls to Aaron Beard, comes down the wicket and makes contact with the ball, and he'll keep the bowling because he plays it out for a single down to mid-wicket on the boundary, just below the second of the two scoreboards. And with 1 over to go, Essex having been put into bat, 187 for 7, with Beard just has that 1 to his name, and Tom Wesley 48 beneath his.
You're listening to live T20 Blast Cricket on the DAB of both BBC Radio Sussex and BBC Essex, and on the BBC Sport website, and on the Sussex Cricket stream, and around the ground here at Hove. So there is very few people who are missing out, I think. I think we're just about...
I think so.
We're just about going around to everybody who would care to listen. 187 for 7 going into the final over of the 20 for Essex. So they won't get anywhere near their 240 odd, but from Chelmsford, but it will still be an imposing total for Sussex to go after. Yeah,
they'll be looking at 200 now, which of course, a few seasons ago you'd have thought 200, good lord, it's unattainable, but nowadays it's more or less commonplace.
Well, the England 50 over team are talking about getting 500 on a regular basis, as this over is being bowled by Henry Crocombe, and Beard squeezes that up towards long off, and they'll take a single, and it's 188 for 7. So if Sussex can restrict Essex in that way, they'll be delighted.
They will. Yes, I think records are falling more frequently now, and they're invariably batting records. I think it's undeniable that batting has become easier and conversely, bowling more difficult in recent seasons as the regulations and the laws have changed, basically to make it more and more of a batting game. And boundaries come in and various things. And why would anybody want to be a bowler? No idea.
Especially in the short form of the game.
Yes,
this is, well, Henry Crocom's a bowler, and he's about to come and bowl this second ball, and that's been swung away. Is that going to go to the boundary rope? It's been fielded really well. Good bit of relay fielding. They're going to come back for a second. That earns the respect and applause of everybody around the county ground. So that's also Tom Wesley's 50 from 28 deliveries. He's although he's played some big hits, he's accumulated nicely, hasn't he? So that's almost come as a bit of a surprise, really.
Well, yes, that's right.
Suddenly made 50.
Yes, it just sort of crept up on him, yes.
But he's batted very well, Wesley. He's facing Crocombe now. He's got a thick edge on that one through what would have been sort of second slip area, and that's gone for 4. They'll take that, Essex, all day long.
Yes, they certainly will, yes. As I've said many times on BBC Essex, a lucky 4 off the edge down to third man looks just the same in the scorebook as the most sumptuous of cover drives.
Absolutely, unless you were reading one of Bill Frindle's old scorebooks, and then he describes where the balls go. So Crocombe comes in and bowls, and it's a shorter one which is hooked high up in the air. He's going to be caught and is taken down at deep backward square leg. So Wesley's vigil, his fantastic knock, comes to an end, trying to up the rate. Wesley heads back to the pavilion. 2 balls to spare, 54 he's made, and along with Adam Rossington, he's been the key contributor to this Essex score of 194 for 7, and it will be now in the hands of Aaron Beard and Ben Allison to try and get them up to that 200 mark off the final 2 balls.
Yes.
He saw the short one and took it on, really, didn't he?
Yes, he did, yeah, which is understandable, when the end is in sight.
Allison with 65 on his back comes to the crease. 2 balls to go. Essex 194 for 8. No problem with the cut-off, by the way, even though it's 8:21 because they started the final over before it.
Who was the catcher there? Never mind. Doesn't matter. I'll get it on the web soon when it comes up.
I think it would have been Allsop, but I'm not sure. As Crocombe comes into bowl. Single. And now I'm happy with that one. Substitute fielder, actually, which is why I wasn't sure.
Oh, right. Oh, well, sub will do on my score sheet then.
Wesley falling for 54. Final ball of the Essex innings. Crocombe comes in and bowls. It's been forced up by Beard towards long on. They think about the single. There might be a run out at the wicketkeeper's end. They've got taken the stumps down, but I think he was home with a dive. So they've got 2 there for the final delivery, Essex. It takes them on to 197 for 8. So Sussex will need 198 to try and win this one. Essex, if they can stop Sussex doing that, will book their place in the quarterfinals of the Vitality T20 Blast. Dick Davis from BBC Essex, your thoughts on the Essex knock?
Probably, I still think, although 197 sounds a lot, it is a lot. I think given all the circumstances from what we've seen over the last 20 overs, they won't, they certainly won't feel they're home and dry by any means. I think Sussex are more than capable of getting this score with plenty to spare. As I said a little while ago, I don't know, maybe it was a month ago when he was playing the second 11, I saw Alistair Orr play down at Garton Park in Southend, the second 11 where he scored. I'm not sure how many he scored in total, but he got his first 50 of 12 deliveries, and all of them, well, virtually all of them were straight drives for 4 or 6. We know what Ravi Bopara can do. Yeah, Essex will be happy, but they'll think, well, could have done better, and Boy, if Adam Rossington hadn't... I mean, if you look down the scorecard, if Adam Rossington hadn't got 95 and Tom Wesley 54, then the only other double-figure scores were Robin Dass with 15 and Daniel Sams with 13. Yeah, the powerhouse in the middle, Pepper, Lawrence and Walter, scored 6 between them. So, yeah, they'll be reasonably content, but yeah, they've still got to bowl and field really well if they're going to win this game.
Well, we'll get the Sussex reply shortly. Let's have a look at their bowling figures. Delray Rawlins 2 for 34, Steve Finn 0 for 33, Garton 0 for 30, Croker 1 for 23, Rashid Khan 3 for 30, Ravi Papara 2 for 30, and Lenham 0 for 16 from just 1 over. Yes, so the Sussex reply then, as they chase 198 to win this match at Hove, is here to all to come here on BBC Essex and BBC Radio Sussex. Mate. Yep. That's fine, yep. Okay. And this is BBC Radio Sussex and BBC Essex at Hove for T20 Blast action, where Essex have scored 197 for 8 in their innings. So Sussex chasing 198 to win. Elsewhere in the South Group, Kent 191 for 5 against Surrey. Surrey 65 without loss after 6 in reply. In that big match at the Aegeus Bowl, that's the important one that Essex fans will want to know about. Hampshire have made 140 for 7 against Gloucestershire in their 20 overs. So Gloucester restricting Hampshire really nicely there. And also in the South Group, Middlesex 160 for 6 against Somerset. Somerset 73 for 3 in the 9th. So some of those matches, the Hampshire-Gloucester one started the same time as here, but those other matches I think started around about 6:30. So they'll finish before we do here. In the Test match at Edgbaston, it's of course the 5th Test match of a series that started last summer. India made 338 for 7. England put them in to bat and took a few early wickets, but with Matt Potts getting Virat Kohli, but India recovered really well to finish on 338 for 7. And with the story of the day, here's Eleanor Oldroyd. Eleanor Oldroyd there on the Test match at Edgbaston, and of course we've also had the sole women's Test match between England and South Africa that was unfortunately destroyed really by rain. Only 4 days down at Taunton, and much of the last day ruined by rain yesterday. South Africa 284 and 181 for 5 in reply to England women's 417 for 8 declared. The player of the match with 1 for 29 and 169 not out was Nat Siver. Okay. That's annoying, yeah. Yeah. As you can probably hear on the effects, they're still going through some random stuff. Yeah, it's... Say that again, mate. Oh, yes. Yep. 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 Okay, well, there's nothing happening at the moment. Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Yes. Right, they're just coming on now. Yeah, at the end of... Yeah. Yep. Nat Siver there talking after the England women's test match against South Africa. She said it rained and that's what spoiled the result. And we've got the return of the Rachel Hove Flint Trophy, the 50-over format, with Southern Vipers representing Sussex and Hampshire defending their title. They've won back-to-back against Central Sparks. That all starts tomorrow. Back here at Hove, we are just about ready to get underway with the Sussex reply. Josh Philippi will open up batting with Alistair Orr for Sussex, and Aaron Beard is going to bowl from the C end. So Josh Philippi, and that for the Essex fans out there, is Philippi rather than Philippe. So Josh Philippi will take strike, the Australian wicketkeeper batsman, and he's going to face Aaron Beard first up. Beard, of course, had a brief loan spell in red ball cricket with Sussex, and Philippi swings and misses the first one. Sussex are chasing 198 to win against Essex, and if Essex can keep them below that score, then they will be guaranteed a spot in the quarter-finals. So I'm joined for the first 5 overs of the Sussex reply by Paul Newton for BBC. Sorry, Dick Davis is going to take the first 5 for BBC Essex. Dick, so it's important for Essex that, as I'll just cover this ball from Beard, as he comes in past the umpire now and bowls, and a swing outside the off stump, but it's been given as a wide. An attempted cut, he couldn't reach it, and so that's a wide, giving Sussex their first run. But yeah, it's important with the attacking intent that Philippi and Orr often show that Essex can make a breakthrough early.
Yes, certainly is, and yeah, or at least restrict them, but a breakthrough would be even more desirable. I don't know, I was going to say much, I don't know anything about Philippi, but I do know a little bit about Alistair Orr.
So Philippi facing up and tries to drive that one and misses, so he's not quite found his mojo yet, Josh Philippi. One from the first 2 legal deliveries. Wide being the other ball. And Duckworth-Lewis has 7 at the end of this over, so Beard runs in now past the umpire and bowls to Philippi, and it's been pushed out into the offside but fielded, and there's no run, so really tight stuff this from Beard.
Well, yes, he's carrying on where he left off against Hampshire earlier in the week. When I was saying he played an excellent second fiddle to Simon Harman.
Beard wipes the ball on his navy blue trousers with his banana yellow shirt on, comes in and bowls, and an attempted scoop from Philippi. Bit of frustration possibly, he misses out yet again, so he's yet to get off the mark in the first 4 deliveries that, first 4 legal deliveries he's faced, and Sussex remain on that one without loss from the wide that Beard bowled. But you wish he hadn't bowled that wide now, otherwise it'd be looking at a perfect first over. But 2 balls still to come. No panic will set in Sussex colours just yet. They'd like to get something off the square as Beard comes in and bowls now, and Philippi tries to drive and misses again. So through to the wicket keeper. This is a bit Groundhog Day now.
Yes, it is a bit, isn't it?
Very frustrating from a Sussex perspective, and certainly for Josh Philippi. He can't get the ball off the square, or indeed make any contact with it. He did hit one, but missed the others. Ali Orr at the other end. Aaron Beard comes in again and bowls to Philippi. This time he does strike it, and strikes it well up over the cover fielders and to the boundary for 4. And slightly ironic cheers, I think, from the home patrons, who have probably started to feel the effects of their first couple of glasses, I think.
Yes, that's probably it. So, yeah, 198 to win, 20 over match. I mean, it's give or take. We won't argue about decimal points. It's 10 and over they're looking at, really. So, in that respect, Essex got the better of the first over. And a good one it was, generally speaking, from Aaron Beard.
Yes, we won't have any rain interruptions, but it is useful for me to update you on what Duckworth-Lewis Stern says on the scoreboard, because that is the par score for that over, the end of that, the forthcoming over, and DLS has 14 next to it, and Sussex 5 without loss at the moment.
Yes, it's always a very good guide, but we do assure listeners that it's not going to rain looking away to our left, to the west. And there's not even a cloud in the sky. Well,
nope, the weather certainly comes from out leftwards of the commentary box. I don't want to look too much at that because the sun's right in my eyes when I do that. Plenty of seagulls hovering around as they look to try and scoop up some leftover food. Second over. As
Daniel Sams moves in and bowls on his first delivery, is dispatched for 6 rather, away over the boundary, over mid-wicket by the left-handed Orr.
Mr. Orr made his highest first-class score in the recent championship win over Derbyshire, so he's in good nick.
Yeah, he certainly is. And incredible innings for the second 11 that I had the pleasure of watching. I don't think Essex did. I did watch it.
That's all they could do is watch it.
Yeah, that's right, and then go and try and retrieve it. As Sams moves in again and bowls to Orr. Left-hander to left-hander. That's gone hard, high, and 6 more. And this is what Ali Orr does, and does it very effectively as well. 2 consecutive 6s.
think his heart might have been in his mouth briefly, because it did go high, as you said. The first one was much flatter and into the crowd. This one had a lot of hang time, but there was no fielder out there. Of course, its trajectory in the end, it did plonk itself in the crowd, so the fielder couldn't have done much about it, but it wasn't possibly, he didn't get as much onto it as he might have wanted to, and end up enough, but not, it ended up going a bit high rather than flatter.
Yes. So Ali Orr instantly moves on to 12 of 2 deliveries. You can't do an awful lot better than that, really.
Very difficult to.
Yes.
And we had, of course, a situation earlier in the match where we had a Sussex bowler who went for 2 sixes off. That was George Garton, wasn't it? Went 6 and 6.
So Sams moves in again and bowls. And it's only 4 this time. It's strayed onto, or maybe just outside leg stump, and all I had to do really was to help it round the corner. Down to fine leg, just away to our right.
Yeah, clever shot that from Ali Orr, and he's going along nicely. 16 from 3, Sussex 21 without loss. So well ahead of that 14 now.
Oh, well ahead.
Been made to look silly when I mentioned that, haven't I?
The sun shining brightly, and just away to my left, just enough to be a little bit irritating. Well, no, not irritating, but I'm very much aware of it.
Ali Orr, 21 years old, from Eastbourne. He's only made his T20 debut this season. It's only his 7th T20 match.
Sam's into him now, and this time he guides it down for 4 more. This time a more delicate shot than the power shots we've seen beforehand. Just dabbed down to third man for 4 more. 6-6, 4-4.
Well, he made 38 in that game at Chelmsford. That's his highest score in this season, and of course in T20 cricket, full stop. 38 not out he made on that occasion, I think. About 38 he was out, of course. But he's already on 20 from 4, so he's looking to try and improve on that. Got 36 against Kent away and 30 here against Surrey.
Sams moves in and bowls to Orr. And he's in the runs here. 4 more. Again, this was back with the square on the offside.
So that's 24 off the over from the first 5 balls.
Yep. So you have a feeling that Harmer might be in the attack sooner rather than he'd probably originally intended.
Or enjoying himself. That one, I mean, he's hit basically to everywhere so far, as he's hit a couple through. That was a cutaway. He's hit 2 sixes through mid-wicket.
So Sam's somewhat bruised already, not literally, but mentally scarred by an absolute onslaught from Orr. And final delivery, the crowd will be disappointed. It's not even a boundary. It's just a single. But the good news is, from Sussex's point of view, because it's only a single, he'll be facing the bowling. So after an incredible second over,
25 from it,
Sussex have moved on to 30 without loss.
I'll tell you what, if Aaron Beard is, well, whoever it is, I suppose, but if Aaron Beard's taking the next over, he's thinking to his mate, geez, thanks for giving me that single.
Yeah, it's actually going to be Sam Cook.
Ah, okay.
But he's thinking the same.
Yes. I'm in the firing line, says Cook, as he's going to face up to Ali Orr. He's just going through his little warming up routine now, firing just one ball that he delivered in the direction of water, and now has the ball in hand. Just wants his field moved slightly. He's got a short third man. There's 4 catches just on the edge of the ring, or 3 catches on the edge of the ring now, as Cook comes in, right arm over to Ali Orr, and Orr just defends that one. Out into the offside, and there's no run, a dot ball.
Yes. Especially against Orr.
25 from 7, Ali Orr at the moment. Josh Philippi at the other end in his first over couldn't middle the ball. So.
No.
He'll have looked on enviously at Ali Orr as Orr carted that last over around. Cook comes in, right arm over to the left-handed Orr flicks that off his pad through mid-wicket. He'll pick up a single, which will give Philippi the strike again. So Orr on to 26, Philippi on 4, Sussex 31 without loss. Chasing 198, and we're in the 3rd over. We've only had 14 balls for this 31 runs in this Sussex innings. Again, plenty of seagulls flying around, trying to scoop up the remaining food that people have dropped they're no fools.
No.
They should come in here. There's plenty of curry looking about as Cook comes in and bowls, and Philippi does get this one away, not convincingly over the offside, and he'll pick up a couple of runs. Didn't get all of that at all, off the splice maybe, but he did enough to get it over the field, the ring field, and 2. He moves on to 6 as a seagull there comes swooping right in front of our commentary box. And I'm watching his trajectory, just doing a... And then he flies out towards, so what a surprise, the hospitality. As Cook comes in, past the umpire now, bowls and turned away onto the leg side by Philippi. He's going to pick up a single. Sussex move on to 34 without loss. Philippi to 7, the Australian, who is in the side tonight because Mohammed Rizwan is not playing.
I always think seagulls divide opinion. Some people just love them. I fall into this category. I think just watching them soar through the sky is wonderful. Others don't like what they do to the bonnet of your car.
Or quite as Cook comes in and bowls to Orr, who tickles that round the leg side towards sort of leg gully region. The throw at the stumps is successful. Philippi didn't have his bat down, but he did... he did cross, he did have his feet well in his ground, so that's a comfortable single. We've got one more ball to come in the 3rd over, but Sussex have already made great progress, 35 without loss.
Certainly have.
At the moment.
Yeah, I'm used to seagulls because I live by the seaside at Southend-on-Sea.
Ah, very nice too.
Not quite up to Brighton, I would say.
As Cook comes in and bowls, and this one an attempted hoik which comes off the bottom of the side of the bat and squeezes out into the leg side for a single to Philippi, who moves on to 8. And as the strains of S Club 7 ring around the county ground at Hove, I can tell you that Sussex are 36 without loss after 3 overs. So even GCSE maths tell me that that's 12 and over.
Yes. Right, it'll be interesting to see who's going to be in shape. It's going to be Dan Lawrence from the far end, number 28. 28. I'm feeling I said 28.
A bit of spin.
I apologise. A bit of spin. Bowling to Josh Philippi.
Just organising the field at the moment. We're told by our colleague Paul that Dan Lawrence's last over went for 23.
Well, it wasn't today.
No.
His first over today, and he moves in.
The last over he bowled in
to... Oh, it's a different day, a different match, different location. So...
Oh, misfield.
Oh, misfield. They were probably always going to get a single anyway, but there was a misfield at square leg. And rather than... It turned a bit of a hard-won single into an easily obtained one.
They always say, don't they, never run on a misfield, but it almost depends on the misfield.
Yeah, it does, yes. It's like a lot of sayings, not just in cricket, but in life, you know, they're nonsense. As Dan Lawrence, with his eccentric style, bowls, and that's hoisted out to mid-wicket for 4 runs. I hesitated because it was just a possibility that I think it's Walter out there, Paul Walter might have got to it. I think he did get a hand to it, but could only parry it over the line. So the hosts move on to 41 without loss after 2 deliveries of the 4th over. So they're going very well indeed. And that's guided down to 3rd man. Very fine 3rd man for 4 runs, but as I've said, and those who know this ground, once it starts to run away down this hill, then it really does seem to accelerate. Runs away towards us, towards the boundary, and towards Brighton Beach beyond, but never quite that far.
So Ali Orr, 35 from 11, closing in on that 38 he made at Chelmsford.
Yes, he likes playing against Essex, and whether it's first 11 or second 11. And just picked up a single here as he goes on the back foot and gets a little bit tucked up, but he's still... It was a manufactured shot out onto the onside. They went through for a single. 46 without loss, or 36. Philippi on 9.
Duckworth Lewis Stern at the end of this over says 30, so...
Yes, so they're well ahead of that. But of course a wicket makes a difference to... that's swung away for another boundary. Backward and square on the onside.
Bounce for just in front of the rope.
And over the 20 years this competition has existed, a little bit more than that, we've got accustomed to taking nothing for granted. You know, on the one hand, the side we appear to be heading for defeat and suddenly win it, and vice versa. So there's a lot of cricket to be played in this match yet. As Lawrence comes in, Philippi comes down the wicket and drives it for 4, just out of the reach of the poor water. So another productive over, not as meteoric as some that have preceded it, but still very, very profitable. And Sussex, in pursuit of Essex's 197, well, 54 without loss.
Yeah, so how many off that one? 18 off that over. So, yeah, so 54 coming up at the end of the 4th. At the end of this over, I should be handing over to Paul, and we will have our all Essex contingent.
I seem to have been on air forever.
Unless you want to come off, Dick, do you? Or we can...
Well, you are the resident commentator. I think Sussex listeners...
I wonder what adjective is going to be added on.
No, I'll come up at the end of this over.
Okay. Well, we'll see if Dick can bring Essex some luck in this one. We're going to see Allison come in from the C end with bowling to the left-handed Orr. Is on 36, right hand over the wickets, and Orr will pick up a single here to a wide mid-on, and he'll move on to 37. Sussex 55 without loss. So we are about an hour away from the cut-off point of 21:49 for the start of the final over, that is. So if we go beyond that, if Essex can't start their final over by that time, then they have to have a fielder up inside the circle. Allison comes in to bowl to Josh Philippi. Philippi swings and misses. Oh, he's caught behind. Caught behind, an edge from Philippi and a breakthrough for Essex. So Allison comes on and with his second ball breaks through. Josh Philippi goes. The man coming back into the side to replace Mohammed Rizwan. Struggled a little bit in his first few deliveries, but once he found his stride, he really did contribute well. But he's gone, Philippi, for 17 from 13 deliveries, and Sussex are 55 for 1.
Yes, good delivery there from Ben Allison. Seems to be relieved to have made that breakthrough. That will bring the Duckworth Lewis score down a little bit, but nonetheless, the hosts are well in command at this stage of proceedings. So that was off the second delivery of the 4th over. So impressive stuff from Sussex so far.
Batsman for Sussex is Harrison Ward, a man who some success in again a very sort of limited T20 career. 16 innings, 230 runs at 18 is his figures for his T20 career, as Allison comes in and bowls to Ward, who drives it down the ground for 4 runs through mid-off. Uppishly briefly, but nowhere near the left hand of the boundary to start off with for Ward. His top score was last Friday against Kent in that defeat. He made 33. Harrison Ward has bowled 1 over in T20 cricket this season. He took a wicket with the first ball of the innings against Gloucestershire and was never seen again with the ball.
Right.
As this time he's facing up with the bat, as he's wrapped on the pad, so it's pitched outside leg and hit him probably too high and going down leg. Not a lot in that appeal, and they've come through for a leg bye. So Sussex move on to 60 for 1, and it will bring Ali Orr back onto strike, who's 37 not out. Yes,
something that Ben Allison might not be looking forward to too much.
No, indeed. Ali Orr's looked in quite good nick, but that's famous last words as a commentator, isn't it? Allison comes trotting in now. He's past the umpire and bowls down the leg side. That'll be a wide. The PA treating that with the usual respect that it accords wides.
Yes.
But you don't really want to bowl too many of those, even if you set aside 198 to win. Don't give them too many freebies. I think Sussex had 9 extras. Essex are up to 3. As this one is played off the back foot by Orr into the offside for a single. So he moves on to 38, matching the score that he made against Essex at Chelmsford 2 weeks ago. A lot happens, doesn't it, in T20 cricket in terms of the fixture list in 2 weeks.
Oh, yes.
But, you know, these two sides, although the scoring has come down since that first match at Chelmsford, I mean, this is no less entertaining, is it?
Certainly not, no.
Fortunes have certainly been divergent for these two teams. Sussex going out of the competition in the group stage with 2 matches to go, as that one's played off the pads to deep backward square leg for a single. And Sussex at the end of the 5th over are 63 for 1 as Dick makes his exit briefly, and we're joined for the next 5 overs. We'll be joined by the next 5 overs by Paul Newton. Bring Paul in just a moment, but to tell you that it's 63 for 1 here with Harrison Moore 5 not out from 3 deliveries, and Ali Orr 38 not out from 14. Elsewhere, let's keep you up to date with that other game that's important for Essex, and it's Hampshire against Gloucestershire. Hampshire 140 for 7 in their 20 overs. In the 5th over, Gloucestershire are 46 for 2, so they're going along very nicely run-wise. Hampshire have taken a couple of wickets. So it's an interesting one there, as we'll bring Paul in a moment, but this is going to be 4 more for Sussex as Harrison Moore flicks that off his pads down towards deep backward square leg for a boundary. 67 for 1. Ward moves on to 9, and yes, as we bring Paul Newton for BBC Essex back in, it's not the start Essex would have wanted.
Not at all. It's been a terrific start. Not much you could do, actually. Ali Orr's been quite brilliant. Is it nil me this over?
I think you can take it.
Right, well, Cook comes in, running down the slope from the Cromwell Road end and smashed away for at least 4, possibly 6. In fact, it's a 1 bounce 4, I think. And just being signalled by Rob White there. 71 for 1. No stopping Ali Orr at the moment. And he has very much got the bit between his teeth here. 38 runs, and Essex really haven't found any answer to this explosive start. And I think it was always going to be the way, although 198 is normally a big ask for the chasing side, but I think Essex always knew they had to take quite a lot of wickets to win this game. This next one is run down for 4 more to 3rd man,
doing well.
And that ball from Cook just giving Orr the licence to guide it down, and no risk in the shot at all. 75 for 1 now, Orr up to 42.
No, it's Harrison Ward.
Sorry, Ward, my apologies. Okay. He has 17 and Orr has 38. So it's Ward who's hit both these boundaries in this over so far. And an all left-hand partnership, therefore, at the crease now. This 2nd wicket stand for Sussex. Cook bowls, and that's nicely played away into the covers, but there'll just be a single this time. And Aaron Beard does the fielding there on the dive in the covers. 76 for 1. Ward up to 18. Orr back into strike on 38. So it doesn't take Ward long to get going here either. Lots of runs in this pitch. I must admit that I felt that Essex had underscored. That sudden loss of 3 wickets after they'd opened up the 68-run partnership really punctured their innings. And here comes Cook again and bowls, and that's a good delivery, and it goes through Orr, and it's pretty much the first time anything has beaten him out there. So good effort that from Sam Cook, but 76 for 1 as we're in the final over of the power play. Just another 122 needed by Sussex, and I think there is only one route for Essex to win this game now, and that is virtually to bowl Sussex out, and that is not going to be easy on what looks very much a batsman's pitch as Cook bowls. That's another very good delivery, and well, The bowler's reaction suggests that there was an edge to that, and indeed there is no signal, and Rossington got a hand to that one. Technically it was a chance, not at all an easy one. He was diving away to his left, and it was very low, so it would have taken a really good catch to get it, but it was technically a chance. A single ends the over, and there were a further 14 off that over. 77 for 1 at the end of the power play for Sussex, and by comparison Essex at the end of their power play were 61 for no wicket.
Yeah, and it just shows, doesn't it, that Sussex have taken on this challenge with vim and indeed vigour. So we are going to see another over from Dan Lawrence, this time from the C end. He bowled the other over from the Cromwell Road end of the ground. Right arm around the wicket to Ali Orr. It's just held up in the pitch, and a good bit of fielding from Simon Harmer in the covers, and it's restricted. Well, it's stopped the single, so kind of threw himself at it, Harmer, and it just hit him pretty much, but he did well nonetheless. Lawrence comes in again and bowls. A good bit of turn on that, and Orr punches that down the ground for a single. He's moves on to 40, so he's well past now that 38, that highest score this season, and indeed in his T20 career that he made against Essex at Chelmsford. Only his 7th T20 match, but he's taken to the format like a duck to water.
He is. He played very well down at Chelmsford. It was a relief to Essex when they got him out.
At the other end, Harrison Ward doing well, 18 from 70. He tries a reverse sweep, doesn't get a lot onto it, but they do manage to get through us for a single.
Not a bad over so far from Lawrence. Now, he was very expensive in Hampshire's first innings the other day in the championship match at Chelmsford. His first 3 overs went for 23. Tom Wesley kept him on, and Kyle Abbott hit him for 3 sixes, and his final over also went for 23, so it was none for 46 in 4.
Driven this one, but straight to Harmer in the covers, and there's no run. So yes, very tidy over this from Lawrence.
Certainly Essex will be hoping he can concede just 2 singles in 4 balls. They'll be hoping there are no boundaries in this over.
Lawrence, with his idiosyncratic action, comes in and bowls, tickled around the leg side for a single, only a single though. You've seen Dan Lawrence bowl. I think he did briefly for England in the Test matches.
He did
in the West Indies. You'll know
wicket.
All about his. If you've seen his style, his bowling action on TV, or indeed if you've seen any Essex games. Of course, those listening in Essex will have seen him plenty. But in he comes again and bowls to Ward, who this time plays it down to long on for a single. So no boundaries off the over, just the 4 off it, and that is going to give Essex a lot of hope. It is 9 o'clock on the Friday night, and it's still, well, obviously we have the floodlights, which is helping the scene a little bit in front of us, but it's blue sky. There's some lingering light as the sun disappears behind the buildings, and it's a lovely evening, I would say. We happen to be in an air-conditioned commentary box, but I dare say that the patrons outside are enjoying themselves in these conditions.
Simon Harmer into the attack from the Cromwell Road end. 7 overs gone, 81 for 1 up on the board. Harmer around the wicket. Bowls, and this is hit straight to short extra, and there'll be no run there. Aaron Beard doing the fielding, 81 for 1, but that was a really good over from Dan Lawrence, particularly bearing in mind his first over was expensive off the back of that very expensive spell he had in the championship. I'd love to watch him bowl, and he did very well to keep it down to 4 singles. Next ball is driven out past the short extra, but fielded at deep extra cover, and there'll just be a single there, taking the score to 82 for 1. 7.2 overs. We are, of course, now out of the power play. That partly accounted for why Lawrence was able to bowl by far the most economical over of the innings, albeit the first over did actually only go for 4. Now, next one's high in the air. Should be a catch here at mid-wicket, and is. And that is the end of Ali Orr. And in the end, that one, he got far too much under it. It went a long way up. But although they're never necessarily the easiest of catches, but as skiers go, that was pretty easy. 82 for 2.
Yes, one of those ones where you go, I just want it to come down. I just want it to come down. I want to take it cleanly. You got a lot of thinking time, a lot of hang time on that one, as they would say in the States. Yeah, sky up, but taken steadily and calmly. So Ali Orr departs, and I think we'll see a bit of Ravi Bopara batting at number 4.
Yep, so Bopara, skipper, making his way out to the middle, played very well in the reverse fixture at Chelmsford, and he was deliberately, you could see him timing his innings there. He plays with such composure. He didn't over-hurry. He could see that Sussex were up at the clock, even though they needed 245 to win. But just when I thought, well, if he gets a couple of sixes in the last over, Sussex will do it. But he chased a wide one at the start of the over and was caught behind. But here he is. He's certainly got a good backdrop here with this tremendous start from Sussex. Departs, therefore. Very, very good innings indeed, but perhaps he might just have had a bit more of a look at Simon Harmer, as Harmer's in now, bowls, and that one goes past short mid-wicket, and they amble a single here. It's 83 for 2 in the 8th over here for BBC Essex, BBC Radio Sussex.
Yeah, so that wicket will have just taken the shine off of that Sussex start. It's been a very good start. They are ahead of the DLS.
Yeah, it is Essex's only route to victory here, is to keep taking wickets as Harmer's in. Bowls, and this ball is played out to deep mid-wicket for a single. And that takes Ward along to 22, so it's 84 for 2 in 7.5. A good introduction to the attack by Simon Harmer, Essex's skipper. I can tell you Surrey are 160 for 4, and they need 192. 15.3 overs have gone as the next ball here just eludes the diving short extra. Again, it'll be a single, but the concession of singles is a sharp contrast to the array of boundaries we saw in the power play. So 85 for 2 at the end of 8 overs, with Ward on 22, Bopara underway with 2 singles in that over, and again, like the Dan Lawrence over before it, just 4 runs coming from that 8th over.
Yes, and it's starting to put the squeeze on a little bit in the overs outside of the power play. So Ravi Bopara in his T20 career has 1 century, and that came for Essex against Somerset, 105 not out, but it came back in 2010, 12 years ago. Just shows how long Ravi has been a central part of English cricket. As we're going to see more from Lawrence as he bowls to Bopara, and Bopara just plays that back to him. Lawrence bowling very tidily.
Yeah, I mean, Bopara's career, I think he just had 1 game in 2002, so he really got going in 2003, and pretty much 2 decades he's been playing.
37 now. And Lawrence comes in and bowls, and Bopara swings and deposits it into the, well, beyond the hospitality and out into the car park. That's a huge hit from the Sussex captain.
Biggest hit of the day so far. There's been some big runs, but that was monumental. Just to tell you the latest score from the Aegeus, Hampshire only made 140 for 7 at the Aegeus, and Gloucester also struggling a little bit, 54 for 3 in 7 overs. That game is crucial from an Essex point of view. If Gloucestershire don't win, then Essex will have secured at least an away fixture in the T20 quarter-final.
Of course, all minds out on the field for Essex will be on trying to win this game and make it a guarantee themselves. But have the option of doing it tomorrow night as well. I was going to say as Lawrence comes into bowl, but Bopara isn't ready. And so he backs away and says, no, we'll go again. But Lawrence was well into his delivery stride. But Bopara, I don't think he was even looking. Now we're going to have take 2, 4th ball of this over, as Lawrence comes in and bowls to Bopara, who wanted a big hit. In the end, he's just managed to get it through to long on for a single, and he's trying to look for the offside, I think.
Yeah, very interesting scoreline comes from Lords. Middlesex seemingly an inadequate 160 for 6, but Somerset, with 11 balls left, are 137 for 6, so they need 24 off those 11 balls to win. They're currently second, just a point ahead of Essex.
Interesting. So Lawrence is going to come round the wicket to the left-handed Ward, and he's struck on the pad, but there's no appeal because he's going well down leg side. In fact, they've scampered through for a quick single. Will be a leg by. I had the perfect angle to see that because I was right behind the angle of delivery. 93 for 2, the Sharks against the Eagles of Essex, and they're chasing 198, so they need another 105 to win from this point, and we are 4 balls into the 9th over. This is going to be a tight one, I think, Paul.
Well, I'd like to be in Sussex's position at the moment.
Lawrence comes in and bowls to Bopara, who's beaten outside the off stump, fiddling a little bit at that one, collected by Rossington, who whips the bails off.
But if a couple of wickets fell in the next couple of overs, that makes it a very even game indeed. Perhaps the momentum's shifting a little bit Essex's way.
In other words, stick with us because we are in for a cracker, we feel, here as Lawrence comes in and bowls. Bopara steadied himself and plays that in through the covers, and it's fielded and picked up. They'll pick up a single at the end of the 9th over. Sussex are 94 for 2, chasing 198 to win, so they are well up with the rate. 10.4 is their run rate.
And Somerset in chasing, I said they wanted another, 24 off 11 balls. Well, I think they've hit a 6 somewhere along the line in the penultimate over. They've also lost 2 more wickets. They're 151 for 8. They can still win, but they need 10 off the over with only 2 wickets left, albeit they bat right down, so the odds probably still slightly with them, but certainly they're not winning at all comfortably, as we see over 10 begin now. 94 for 2, and Harmer's bowling it from the Cromwell Road end, and this ball is carved away into the offside boundary, as Dan Sams can do nothing to stop that crossing the line just underneath the main scoreboard. 98 for 2, and Bopara with that shot has 14, and Ward at the non-strikers end on 22. Harmer in again to bowl to his former colleague Ravi Bopara, and Bopara pulled away there, I think partly because of all the seagulls circling, and he's hit this a shade uppishly, but no need to worry from a Sussex point of view. It lands well before getting out to shortish mid-wicket. Sam Cook, and 98 for 2 remains the score. Dot ball there. Harmer, the next ball slightly quicker, and brilliant bit of fielding. Ball played into the ground. It bounced up, and Harmer threw himself to his left. Peter Shilton would have been quite pleased with that. Took the ball cleanly. Didn't even concede a corner in Shilton-esque terms. Shilton, who lives in Mersey, in fact, in Essex, as this ball is attempted flick. It's a wide. Harmer wasn't over enamoured of being penalised there, but it's fair enough. It misses leg stump, nicely taken by Rossington. 99 for 2, the extra run for the wide, and Harmer is in bowls, and this ball is played to short extra. They get a single. Shy comes in unavailing. 100 comes up, and that is in the 10th over. Just looking to see when Essex's 100 came up, and it was in the 12th over. So Sussex very much ahead at this stage, but it will all come down to the wicket column. If it's sort of less than, shall we say, 6 or 7, I'd strongly fancy Sussex, and if it's significantly more than that, well, then probably Essex, as Harmer's in. Bowls to Ward. Ward won't get a run here. Played out into the covers to Sam Cook. 100 for 2. And 1 ball left of the 10th over, so reaching the halfway stage of this Sussex attempt to get 198 for victory. Single to end the over, stroke down to long off. 101 for 2 in 10 overs exactly. And Ward now has 23, Bopara 15. Ward keeping the strike with that single at the end of 10 overs. So 101 for 2 in 10, target 198.
Yes, indeed, the voice of Paul Newton from BBC Essex, as we have this joint broadcast on BBC Essex and BBC Radio Sussex of what is a crucial T20 blast match from an Essex Eagles perspective. They obviously will want to try and win to to get through to the quarterfinals. I'm going to hand over now to Dick and Paul to take you through the next 5.
Much to Andrew Rayburn there. He'll rejoin us for the last 5 overs. As Dick, when I can just get his microphone sorted, will describe the next over.
Thanks, Paul. Ben Ellison moving in, right arm round the wicket, and it's played out to long off, fielded by Michael Pepper in front of us. Played by Harrison Ward.
And Somerset, in spite of losing so many wickets, have done it. They've won with a couple of balls to spare, reaching their seemingly modest total of 161 for 8 wickets with a 19.4 overs bowled.
Parra just takes fresh guard from the umpire before Ben Ellison moves in. And now again, Parra backs away. Something's disturbing him. It may well be the Seagulls.
Well, they certainly disturbed me one night in a Worcester travel lodge. I just couldn't get any sleep at all. And you can say seagulls in the nearest coastline, a long way away. But yeah,
yes,
I've never been back there, I can tell you.
No, I know. Very, and that's just played, guided by Parra, backward of square on the offside. We must point out that other budget accommodation is available. And that's just played backward of square on the offside for 2 runs.
Yeah, nice bit of fielding by Aaron Beard away in the distance. And we're kind of in this crossover light, Dick, between daylight and the floodlights.
Yes.
So there's slightly misty feel to the fringes.
Allison again to Parra. Moves in now, bowls Parra. Plays that backward of square on the onside. They go through for a scampered single. A comfortable single, but as the fielder moved round, making a lot of ground to his right, down to towards long leg.
Gloucester have lost another wicket. They need 141 to win. 9 overs gone in the Gloucestershire chase, and they are 66 for 4, so they need another 74 to win, and 75 to win, I should have said, from 11 overs.
As, the next delivery is pulled away for a single down to deep mid-wicket by Harrison Ward, who then looks at the bottom of his bat as if he wasn't too happy with it. Good crowd here. We're told it's a full house, but there are quite a few empty blue seats we can see, or blue empty seats.
A lot of food outlets on the ground. I fancy a few people are sort of nipping off to get refreshment.
Yes, and that's worked away on the onside, backward of square for a single. I believe there are quite a few drink outlets as well.
Yes, I think you're probably right, judging by the sound. I must say thank you to Sussex County Cricket Club for an excellent curry, my first of the evening, and probably not, or hopefully not the last, but it was very nice.
As Allison moves in again and bowls. Goes on the back foot. Seems to get a bit of bounce there. It took him somewhat by surprise, but still played it quite competently and confidently out on the offside. End of the over, during which Sussex progressed to 108 for 2, which means that they need 90 off 9 overs. Now, even I can divide one into t'other, and it comes to 10 over. The rate at the beginning of the innings was 9.9, so they're ahead of that. But at one stage, they were going like the metaphorical train.
Yes, if Ali Orr hadn't been dismissed, the game was as good as over. The rate he was going.
It was indeed.
But eventually, he did get right underneath. I think it was the second ball Harmer bowled this evening, and hold out. So we're see a bowling change now. It's Dan Sams returning to the attack from the Cromwell Road end. Took some fearful stick in his first over that went for 25. This one is actually a dot ball, as Ward, I think, tried to hit it too hard and actually missed. 108 for 2 and 11.1.
The Duckworth-Lewis now is down to 104, and the score is 108. So Well, Sussex aren't too much ahead of the Duckworth, Lewis, and that 104 is, I think, at the end of the over.
It is, as Sams is in and bowls, and that ball's hit for a single to long off. And that ball, it's a misfield, and, well, Essex are fortunate there that the batsman who had had to make it to the danger end wasn't really watching. He just assumed it'd be a single. The man now at the non-striker's end, Ward, it's Bopara who actually didn't pay maximum attention there. He probably wants the strike, and he's got it. He's on 19. The score is 109 for 2. Surrey are on the verge of beating Kent and avoiding a third consecutive defeat. Somerset have already won. Gloucester 73 for 4, needing 141. 10 overs gone. And a good slower ball here from Sams, and just nudged by Bopara for a single into the onside. Bowler himself runs to mid-wicket to field. 110 for 2, and I thought in that over where Sams went for 25, Dick, that he needed to have bowled a couple of slower balls to mix the pace up.
Well, yes. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
91... sorry, no, not 91. Another 88 needed for Sussex to win this, as Sams is in from the Cromwell Road end. Bowls, and that ball is heaved away. It's almost certainly going to go for 4, and has done. And it was down leg side. If the batsman had left it, it would have been given a wide, but he got back on it and turned it away to long leg, bisecting 2 fieldsmen and picking up 4. Poor delivery. 114 for 2, and Ward moves to 31.
Blares out, and the seagulls keep swirling. I mean, we've been coming here for years, but I can't remember them being as active as they are tonight.
Indeed not. Another wicket for Hampshire against Gloucestershire, who are now 74 for 5, needing 141 to win. This is hit in the air and caught at deep mid-wicket, and that is a 3rd wicket down. And Ward there, not sure he needed to do that really, having just picked up 4 from the previous delivery. I think that's Paul Walter with the catch, and in any event, Ward departs for a very well made innings of they've taken it off the screen for the moment. We'll just clarify that for you in a moment. Just over 30 I think he got, but having just hit a 4 from the previous ball, he probably didn't really need to go after that one.
And it's one of those catches you just felt was never going to be dropped, really. And sure enough, it wasn't. After the penultimate delivery of the 12th over, assuming that the next one isn't invalid. So, that was made. See it anywhere on the scoreboard. We'll have to wait till it appears online. If we can see it online, so can our listeners call.
31 he got.
31, thank you.
It was Walter, but we'll confirm that for you in a moment. And time, Tom Alsop, who made a very punishing, I think it was 40-odd down at Chelmsford, might even have got a 50, has come in and clips his first ball away into the onside, and they're coming back for a second run here, and will make it quite comfortably. 116 for 3. And incidentally, if you're wondering why a catch on the mid-wicket boundary hasn't resulted in the strike being alternated, it's the new rule that's come in that even if the batsmen have crossed, if a catch is taken, the new batsman immediately faces the next delivery. And so Alsop has 2, Bopara 20. It's 116 for 3 at the end of the 12th over.
Yes, I like that change in the regulations. I must admit, it makes sense. We're going to see Aaron Beard come back into the attack from the C end. Be bowling to Ravi Bopara. Bopara's on 20.
Just confirming it was Walter with the catch there.
And the run rate now, 9.7, is actually below the required rate at the start. But you just, nevertheless, because of those wickets, you just have a feeling that it's the hosts who are in a happier position. That helps their cause even more by a wide down the leg side. We may have gone off air. In fact, we have gone off air. But attempts now being made to get us back on air. Right, welcome back. Sorry about that slight break in transmission. Right, thank you. And yeah, you haven't missed too much action while that short loss of sound as that's played out to long on for Paul Walter to field it. And Sussex move on to 120 for 3 after 12 and a half of their allocated 20 overs.
Target 198. Sussex won the toss, put Essex into bat, made 197 for 8 in there. 20 overs, thanks chiefly to 95, career best for Adam Rossington.
As Aaron Beard moves in again, round the wicket to the left-handed Allsop, who picks up a single here just back of the square, down towards the players' pavilion.
Now, as things stand, Sussex haven't got anyone who's got past 50, and of course Essex had a man who very nearly made 100. If Essex do manage to come out of this game alive, they'll owe a lot to that innings of Rossington.
Oh, of course they will, yes. And it's a full toss, and they're rather given the treatment by Vapara, who just, well, effortlessly, he's not a big man, Ravi Vapara, but just effortlessly sort of helps it over the boundary at mid-wicket. And probably in the grounds of one of the blocks of flats. Well, they probably call them executive apartments on the side of the ground.
That slipped out of Beard's hand there, and a costly, very loose delivery that got the treatment it deserved.
Indeed. I think they got the ball back, either that or they changed it quickly or found a replacement. But, no, I think they may have found a replacement. They gave it as lost, I think.
Good news for Essex. Gloucestershire have lost a 6th wicket, needing 141 to win their 78 for 6 in the 12th.
As Beard moves in and bowls, and that's played out. Oh, and it's dropped on the cover boundary. And then to rub salt into the wound, it goes over the boundary for 4. So I can't identify the fielder, and if I could, I wouldn't.
That's the difference between a stick.
Oh, well, yes, I know. But it's the end of the over, 131 for 3.
It was a difficult chance. A fieldsman who it is a little bit difficult to pick fieldsmen out right out on the boundary. The floodlights are very good in the middle. It's Sam Cook, actually, who's a wonderful fieldsman, but he was the one who got hands to the ball, it popped out, and then went over the boundary for 4. So 131 for 3, another 67 needed in 7, and Essex will need to keep taking wickets if they're going to win this game.
They will.
But there is a possibility, the way Gloucestershire are losing wickets at the Aegeus, that they could lose the game, Essex, and still qualify tonight for a quarter-final. It would in that case be an away quarter-final, because both Somerset and Surrey have won tonight, albeit Somerset at the last gasp with 8 wickets down and 2 balls to spare. Harmer, coming back into the attack at the Cromwell Road end, will bowl to Allsop, and he tries to fetch this ball to the square leg boundary on the sweep, but misses it. Nicely taken by Rossington, who's had a good evening here. 131 for 3. 6.5 overs remain. Harmer again around the wicket. Bowls to Allsop. Peel for LBW. Not out, says Rob White. And Allsop survives, but a good start to this over from Simon Harmer. And if Essex could get a couple of fairly economical overs in, even without taking wickets, they put a bit of pressure on.
Oh yes, the batsmen might start to lose their head, panic a little bit.
Oh, and well, it's a mis-stumping there, I'm afraid, as Allsop raced down the wicket trying to drive, missed. And in fairness to Rossington, it kept very low.
It did.
So it wouldn't have been easy, and it just struck him low on the pad, round about shin height. And there's no run there, so 3 dot balls, and
so he bowls him
instead. Harmer has bowled Allsop, who played very dangerously in the reverse fixture at Chelmsford, and he goes for 4 here, and Harmer really had his number in that over. Basically, he beat him twice. He then should have had him stumped, and next ball Harmer said, well, never mind, and bowled him. And so this could be an over, potentially, that might just turn the game round a little bit, because so far there hasn't been a run off the first 2/3 of the over, and a batsman very capable of big runs has been dismissed.
Yes, indeed. Now, on the card, or well, the order we were given, we don't actually have the luxury of a card, but the order we were given, it's Rawlins coming in next, but Delaway Rawlins, and I think it is yes, what's the Duckworth Lewis saying now? 130, what does it say, 128?
Yeah, 128 by the end of this over.
And they're actually 131 for 4.
So it's got a lot closer.
Yes, indeed.
Rawlins, who was absolutely brilliant in the field and bowled extremely well in his 4 overs. He's had a good evening, and he's well capable with the bat. I've seen him bat a lot higher than this for Sussex in earlier seasons. But he's in now, and will be facing Harmer with 2 balls left of the 14th. Harmer around the wicket from the Cromwell Road end, bowls to Rawlins, who satisfies himself with just coming forward and defending back to the bowler. So we've had 5 balls of the 14th without a run coming, and with a potentially key batsman dismissed. A brilliant over so far from Harmer. What will Rawlins do here? He's given plenty of air, and it was very nearly a maiden. They get a single as he just pushed it 8 yards out into the offside. 6 overs remain, 66 needed. Suddenly the required rate is up to 11 and over. 132 for 4, but power of 32 not out, Rawlins 1 not out. Magnificent over from Simon Harmer.
Yes, indeed. Yes, game on. And the cut-off time, oh, they've taken it off the ball. We've got pictures instead. But I noticed towards the end of the over that, I think 9:49 we were told. 9:49, thank you, it says in my ear. So it's just, I make it 9:31 on my Mickey Mouse watch.
But they've amended it now to 9:54 on the board.
Oh, right. Yeah, because I noticed, I brought this subject up, because I noticed that towards the end of the over, Harmer was running back to his mark. Not that he has far to go, but he was certainly, he's certainly aware that time is possibly running out, but then they have been given those extra 5 minutes.
And there have been 1 or 2 sort of delays during the innings, in addition to the 4 wickets that have fallen.
Yes, it's Sams to take up the cudgels of the attack. Moves in, bowls, and that's just played out for a single, bounces a couple of times before it reaches Pepper just away to our left at long on.
Very much one of Essex's best fieldsmen, Michael Pepper. Ironically, he is actually by trade a wicketkeeper, but he's also excellent in the outfield, taken several superb catches and some brilliant ground fielding as well.
Daniel Sams, Australian, to Ravi Bopara, who flailed that over the head of extra cover for 4 runs. And you probably heard the sound of the bat in our effects mic, and it absolutely came out of the sweetest part of the cudgel. And Stoops, not to conquer, although he is conquering to a certain extent, but Stoops to do up his bootlace.
Good runs on the board for Gloucester in the last over or 2. They've moved on to 92 for 6 with 6.5 overs to go, needing another 49 to win, with Bracey going well on 21 not out.
So tomorrow's game against Glamorgan at Chelmsford, something of an awkward side for Essex.
Yeah, a bit of a bogey team, as you suggest.
Yeah. Certainly down at Sophia Gardens, but yeah, they've come unstuck at Chelmsford sometimes. It could all be on that one. Well, it looks as if it may well be all on that one. So that's flailed out to cover point, square with the wicket. They go through for a single.
1 or 2 darker clouds going over the ground. I don't think they're threatening rain, and quite frankly, I think if it did rain, they take it to the finish now anyway. It's actually been a lovely day down here.
It has indeed. Duckworth Lewis is 137 at the end of the over. Currently, Sussex are 138 for 4, with 3 deliveries of this over remaining as Rawlins faces up to Sams, who flails that out and is caught at deep mid-wicket, and Essex take another wicket. And just seeing who that is, it's Harmer, the skipper, Simon Harmer, who takes that catch. It was relatively straightforward at this level of the game. It was waist high, he had to make a few yards to his right, but it's one of those catches that, yes, at this level, if he'd dropped it, well, he wouldn't have been too pleased. So that makes the score 138 for 5.
It was, he made it look easy, Harmer. He's like a vulture there out in the, when it comes to taking catches. He very seldom drops one. 138 for 5. And while I don't doubt that Sussex back down, but you do feel that the skipper is the key man here from both sides' point of view, really. For Essex, they've got to try and get Bopara, currently on 37 from only 21 deliveries, a couple of massive sixes in that. If he isn't dismissed by the end, I'd fancy Sussex to win. If he is out quite shortly, then I'd fancy Essex with Garton, the latest man to join the skipper.
Yes. So Garton, another left-hander. Daniel Sams, a left-arm bowler. 2 deliveries of this 15th over remaining. He moves in now. Bowls to Garton, who digs it out, a ball of Yorker length, and he digs that out, and it goes out square on the offside or just in front of square for a single. Moving the score on to 139 for 5. The Duckworth-Lewis will have altered a little bit with that wicket. Yeah, Duckworth-Lewis has 140, so, oh, dearie me. They're bang on target, which just shows how close it is. I hasten to add, it's not going to rain, I don't think, but you know, it's always a good indication, and indeed the players we know do refer to it.
Oh, very much so. It's the best guide they've got as to whether they're literally up to the clock.
Yes, as Sams moves in, bowls to Bopara. Bopara goes down on one knee and plays that out for 4 on the offside. And that takes the score on to 143 for 5. Very quick on the draw is this scoreboard. 143 for 5 at the end of 15 overs. After a few more words from Paul, he'll be joined by broadcaster, as they say in the trade.
Thanks, Dick, and reminded me, West Indian style, that shot of one Everton de Courcy Weeks. Really flamboyant cover drive played on the up. Magnificent stroke from Bopara. 143 for 5, skipper on 41 off just 22 deliveries. And although Essex have been chipping away, removing 5 batsmen at the other end, while ever Bopara's there, Sussex's hopes are high. There are 5 overs left and 55 runs needed, 11 and over needed. Welcome back, Andrew.
Thank you very much. Simon Harmer coming in to bowl, cut away by Garton. It's beaten the man at short third man. Is he going to go for 4? That's for Sussex. The strains of Tom Hart ring around the county grounds. The fans, all 5,000, some excluding the Essex contingent, are enjoying that boundary. Atmosphere to it, this match now, under the lights, packed house, sold out. Sussex chasing a target to try and win. Harmer comes in and bowls again to Garton. Garton plays that out through the covers. They're going to come back for a second run. They've not going to think about entertain the third. I don't know, if they'd run the first one really hard, they might have been able to turn that into 3 possibly. They could hurry the fielder there.
Yes, although you wouldn't see many 3s on this ground. They're scoring enough at the moment.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to take the risk at this stage with 5 wickets down. Garton tries to drive that, and Harmer collects off his own bowling. So 6 runs off this over already, halfway through it.
Yeah, he's done well here, Garton. Previous over from Harmer, just 1 run off it and the wicket in it. Terrific over that was.
Harmer comes in and bowls, and this time Garton again can't get the ball away, and Harmer collects. So good response from the captain after the first couple of balls.
And it does mean that Bopara won't have faced a ball this over.
As Harmer comes in and bowls to Garton. Garton again can't get it off the square, and Palmer comes around and collects. There's a Mexican wave of sorts going around the ground, parts of it. A lot of people aren't joining in.
Yeah.
It starts with a lot of well-refreshed people in one corner of the ground, and then by the time it gets to the opposite corner of the ground, it's it's rather lost its momentum. As a big swing from Garton, he ends up on a heap on the floor, and I think he hit his own wicket, or was it bowled him? I don't know, but he's out nonetheless. There's a stump that's gone.
Yeah,
May well have bowled him. He tried a big swing, he ended up on the ground, the bail came off, and so George Garton, in trying to up the rate, has kind of thrown his wicket away a little there. Sussex will be desperately disappointed with that situation. They are now 149 for 6 as we head towards the final 4 overs, and they need another 49 to win.
Well, Rashid Khan, who's well capable of giving the ball some welly, is coming out now to join Bopara. I think the real crime there for Garton, who'd done so well at the start of the over, but Ravi didn't face a single delivery of that over, and you want him to face as many as he possibly can at this stage. And I think Ravi was saying to him, probably said, don't get a single now, because then he wouldn't have been facing the next over either.
And of course, once you've got scored 6 off the first 2, you go, right, get a single, takes us on to 7, and then Ravi can try and do the rest in that over. But you're quite right, of course. Voice of Paul Newton from BBC Essex, and I'm Andrew Raven on BBC Radio Sussex. Apologies for the interruption in broadcast earlier as our line dropped out, but I hope you weren't. Hope you're still with us in this what could be an exciting finish.
Cook, 49 on 4 needed. Sam Cook back into the attack, and the first ball has been hit. One bounce down to deep extra cover, and Sams does the fielding. They get a single. 150 comes up for 6, and Bopara moves on to 42, and Rashid Khan, who hit a couple of lusty blows in the reverse fixture at Chelmsford, as I say, he's no mug with the bat, now comes into strike. But now just 3 overs, 5 balls left, and it's fair to say the last 4 overs have really gone rather Essex's way, put them right back in this game as Cook's in. Bowls, and this ball's been hit without timing into the offside for a single. Singles go Essex's way because overall Sussex need 2 runs a ball really. 151 for 6 in 16.2.
Yes, and for the first time they're well behind the DLS as well, which is 162 at the end of this over, so they've got to try and score 11 runs off the next 4 balls to keep up with it.
And Cook's in again, over the wicket, bowls to Bopara. That's gone over short third man, loose delivery. Really poor that from the normally quite excellent Sam Cook. 4 runs, and Bopara to 46, and that's about the first ball he's received for 9 deliveries, which isn't really what Sussex wanted, to have the skipper off strike for so long. 155 for 6.
Yeah, and that was yeah, you said it's a loose delivery, cut away, and he got a bit of a top edge and over short third man, vital boundary.
Cook in again, bowls, and that ball is hit in the inimitable Bopara style, almost standing on one leg when he actually hit the ball and smacked it flat-battedly down to Ben Allison at long off, but he went far too quickly to the fieldsman for there to be anything more than the single. 156 for 6. Meanwhile, at the Aegeus, Gloucester were piling on a few runs. They've just lost their 7th wicket. 107 for 7 in 16, 4 overs, and they need another 34 to win with 3 wickets left. Cook is in. Bowls, and this ball, rare old slog there from Rashid Khan, fails to connect. It's a dot ball, priceless from an Essex point of view, goes through to Rossington. 156 for 6, 42 more are needed, and we have now had 5 deliveries of the 17th over, so 19 deliveries left and 42 needed.
Yep, it's going Essex's way at the moment, but a couple of big lusty blows would certainly help the Sussex cause. Cook
to complete the over. Slower ball, hit in the air, 1 bounce down to Robin Das at backward point. They get the single, 157 for 6 at the end of that 17th over. And, well, we're 8 runs off it, but I think Essex would settle for that at this stage, because it now means 41 are needed from 3 overs.
Yes, it's going to be a big effort here for Sussex as we hear Sweet Caroline So, there you go, the quick blast of Sweet Caroline, which has been the unofficial anthem of English sport in the last couple of years for some bizarre reason, but the crowd love it, I know.
Yeah, coming back to the actual match position again, Bopara's lost the strike, which isn't what they want.
No, Rashid Khan's on strike here for this over to be bowled by Allison, and he's managed to get that back with a square, Rashid Khan. I don't think it's going to go to the boundary. It's been fielded inside the rope. There's a few fans in that corner who think that they was touching the rope, but he wasn't. And they've taken a couple of runs there.
Yeah, very nearly went for 4 on this lightning outfield. Beard doing well to dive and keep it down to 2. And equally importantly, potentially for Essex, again, Bopara not on strike.
Rashid Khan, 4 from 4 so far. Can he do the support work to Ravi Bopara at the other end, who's on 47? Allison comes in now and bowls, and Khan gives himself room outside the off-stump, swings and misses, and ends up on his knees and says, hang on a minute, what have I done there? I've made myself look rather silly.
Well, yes, because in trying to leave himself room for the shot, he ended up not being able to reach it at all, whereas had he moved into line with the ball rather than backing away to leg, he would have had a chance of hitting that through the offside.
So, Essex looking to try and keep Sussex at bay for the second time in this T20 blast competition. Allison comes in and bowls. Rashid Khan's going to try and take a quick second here, and they've done really well there, Sussex. And of course, you make the point that Sussex will want Bopara on strike, but at the same time, they've got to take each and every run they can, especially at this stage now. A couple of overs ago, getting Bopara on strike may have been relevant. Now, it's every man for himself.
Well, it is, except that Bopara's the man who's seeing it well enough to hit the boundaries, and I'm not sure Rashid Khan, on the evidence so far, is. We know he can do.
It's 161 for 6. Rashid Khan flicks that into the air. It's going to fall between 2 fielders. They come through for 1, then they're going to get a second. They are. It's actually spun away from the fielder, hence the ironic cheers from the crowd. But no extra runs were added, just the 2. So 6 on this over from Rashid Khan's 4 balls that he's faced. But
it does mean that the most number of deliveries Bopara can receive in this over is merely 1, and that's nowhere near enough.
That is very true. And they do need boundaries, Sussex. They are behind the rates. They really need to up it, as this one is full from from Allison. It's down the leg side, and if it didn't touch anything, it's going to be a wide.
But it isn't, so I think that must have just brushed the pad.
Just brushed the pad, yeah.
It's been a very clever over, to be fair to Allison. He speared the ball in at Khan's pads, and he's bowled at least 2 of the 5 deliveries have been Yorker length.
And he's taken pace off at times as well, as Allison comes in now. He's up to the wicket. He bowls to Rashid Khan. It's a full toss this time, and Khan steers that out to deep mid-wicket for a single. And I already know what you're going to say, Paul. He's taken another ball away from Ravi Bopara there.
Well, you're right. I would have said it, but thanks for saving me the trouble. I like to think we're singing from the same hymn sheet. But it just is tragic from a Sussex point of view. You know, since the previous partnership, he's probably had about 5 deliveries, and he's been playing tremendously well. I mean, I don't blame...
You are an unabashed Ravi Bopara.
I am, you know, I am. But having said that, it wouldn't matter who it was. He's the man who had to be on strike, really, I think, because it does look now with only 2 overs left and 34 needed. It has been done. I'm not saying it's game over by any manner of means, but it's a big ask, we'll put it that way, as Khan's on strike to Sams, who's slogged it down in the direction of long off without timing, and at last Bopara will at least be on strike. Single there, score to 165 for 6, but it means 33 are needed for a win, 32 for a tie, and unless there are wides or no balls, just 11 deliveries left.
Yeah, and funny enough, 10 from 10 from Rashid Khan, you would say would be a good support act, but the fact that he's taken up most of those deliveries from away from Bopara is a problem.
Yeah. Latest score from the Aegeus, Gloucestershire 116 for 7. There are 16 deliveries left and they need a further 24 to win. And this ball splendidly bowled by Sams, took the pace off it, block hole delivery. Bopara can do no more than to inside edge it into his pads, and it's a dot ball, and now 33 are needed from 10 deliveries.
That's because he's been starved of the strike.
Well, there we are. You really, I must get you to come along and help me write the script here. I'm very impressed with the way you're working your way into this conversation. Sams is going to bowl again to Bopara. It's the end, and that's wide outside off stump, a bump ball back to the bowler, and clever bowling really. Not a lot more Bopara could have done to that, because he was setting himself to get inside the line, and in the end he had to reach across to reach it at all. 165 for 6, another dot ball. We now have 9 deliveries left and 33 needed, and it's getting almost to the point where a boundary ball will be needed. Sams, left arm over from the sea end. Past Mohammed Syed, the umpire. Massive hit, but it's gone too far up in the air. Will it be caught? And it is. And that's a splendid catch by Ben Allison there from long off. He didn't really make enough ground towards the ball, but when he got there, he threw himself forward and got hands underneath it. I've seen him take 2 or 3 like that this season, and I think actually we can probably now say that a very worthy effort from Sussex is nevertheless going to end in defeat, because 33 is still needed of only 8 balls, so 165 for 7.
Yeah, probably following the pattern of the game at Chelmsford. Even though there's been fewer runs, I think it's probably going to be the case again where Sussex have made an admirable effort to chase down a high Essex total, but are going to come up just short. That's a fabulous catch from Allison, because as you say, he wasn't quite positioned right for the catch initially, but he had to dive forward to take it, and he did, and a fabulous catch. So
one of the many differences, you can always point out any number of differences between two sides. One of them is Adam Rossington got 95 for Essex. Sussex have had 3 or 4 players who've looked as if they could win Sussex the game, but they've all got out.
Yes.
Just when they were on the verge of doing big things, and Bopara, the latest example of that. I think he made 47, but we'll check that.
He did, and Ali Orr made 41, Harrison Ward 31. So players who made starts and didn't go on. Josh Philippi 17. I guess also the engine room, Allsop, Rawlins, Garton made 13 runs between them, and that isn't enough in this context.
So Archie Lenham has come in. And that's outside off stump. He tries to inside out it over the extra cover boundary, but misses. So a dot ball, and 7 deliveries remain, and Essex surely are over the line, having made 197 for 8, and Sussex still need another 33, but now there are only 7 deliveries left.
Yes, it's a Herculean effort from here, let's say. So Essex will be qualifying for the knockout stages of the T20 Blast.
Sams to completely over, and Lenham again attempts a nice looking shot outside off stump, but too far inside the line. That's a very good over from Sams. A distant memory now, the 25 that came from his first over during the power play, when Ali Orr took a distinct liking to him and kept hitting him for 4s and 6s. But 165 for 7 at the end of the over. 1 over to go, and 33 needed. Mathematically it's possible, but in actual practice it's very unlikely. I just want to give you the latest score from the Aegeus. Gloucester are 119 for 7, 11 balls left, and 22 more runs needed to win.
Well, I think I should let you take the final over, as it looks like it's going only one way, and so you'll be able to hear the dulcet tones of Paul Newton from BBC Essex describing an Essex victory.
Sam Cook is in, bowls slower ball. It's almost played into his stumps here, and goes through to, well, down to short fine leg. Robin Das, there's no run. 5 balls left, 165 for 7. Rashid Khan has 10, and Archie Lenham yet to get off the mark. And looks very much, well, in fact, they have. Essex definitely have now guaranteed themselves a quarter-final place. Almost certainly it will be an away quarter-final tie, as this next ball is hit down to long on by Rashid Khan, but it's only going to be a single, and that score had remained on 165 for the better part of an over. It's 166 for 7. You do have to give Essex credit for the way that they've kept it so tight since Sussex reached 100.
I think the bowling in the second half of the innings has been outstanding.
Yeah, it has.
It really was. The tone was set probably by Dan Lawrence's second over, and really, apart from the odd big hit, Essex have closed ranks exceptionally well.
That's perfectly described. That's exactly what they've done. As Cook is in bowls, and it's another dot ball, slower ball. He's a very canny bowler, Sam Cook, and of course he's bowling at tail-enders. So it remains 166 for 7. Gloucester have just lost another wicket. Of course, it's rather academic now. They're 120 for 8, 9 balls left, 21 more needed, but it looks as if Hampshire will probably win that game. Bearing in mind that Surrey and Somerset both won tonight, I think Essex are going to probably finish third in the final reckoning, and that will mean an away quarter-final. It won't be very long till they be played next week, as Cook is in bowls, and that ball is played through the covers, but there's a man on the cover boundary who will make sure that it's kept down to a single. Ben Allison does the fielding. He's had a good evening there. He's come on and bowled thoroughly well and took that brilliant catch a few minutes ago to get rid of Bopara. Bopara top scoring with 47, 167 for 7. We have just 2 balls left in this over so far. .1. Cook's in. Cromwell Road End bowls, and Peel for LBW. It looked out, and it is out, and Rashid Khan painfully makes his way out of the arena. LBW to Sam Cook for 11, and it's 167 for 8.
Yep, as you say, that looked stone dead and confirmed by the umpire, and it's just going to add a little frosting on the top of this Essex victory, which in the end on the scorecard will look fairly convincing. And you have to say, in the sort of second half of this innings, that's what it has been. It's been one-way traffic.
I still think a point we made at a very early stage of the Sussex run chase. I made the point that they had to take wickets. If they hadn't got people like Alior out and Bopara out, and say Sussex were only 4 or 5 down, for all the fact Sussex are going to lose quite heavily in the end, but they would have won it, if Essex hadn't got the key batsman out. And all right, we always think that T20 is all about run scoring, but I'll tell you, taking wickets is also vital.
It disrupts the rhythm. It forces new batsmen to come in who aren't necessarily in their rhythm. In fact, speaking of which, we're going to see Henry Crocombe face 1 ball, and this will be the winning moment.
And Cook is on his way in to complete the match. Bowls, and this ball is played away to deep mid-wicket by Crocombe. They're going to come back for 2 and should make it, and have done, despite a good throw. But Essex have won. The final score is 169 for 8, and that means that the winning margin is 28 runs. Again, like the game at Chelmsford, a lot of very, very enjoyable cricket played. Another good match. In the end, what had looked like being a very close finish wasn't. But little incidents decide these games, and I think back, Andrew, you were highlighting the second over bowled by Dan Lawrence, which only went for 4 singles. That was one decisive moment, and the other was most certainly the over from Simon Harmer that went for just 1 run and a vital wicket of Tom Alsop, and that for me was the over where it really went from being a pretty even game to one. You can't afford to have an over that only goes for 1 in a run in the closing stages of a run chase.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's been. I think you have to give huge credit to Simon Harmer. for his field settings, his bowling changes and the way Essex bowled, and Sussex just couldn't quite find the firepower with the bats in the closing stages to try and chase it down, and maybe Sussex might reflect on the way they let Adam Rossington score, all those runs at the start of the innings, because maybe 170 is an easier chase, if they can get him out earlier.
Just to give the bowling figures, Beard 2 overs, no maidens, none for 20. We'll leave the maidens out of it. There wasn't a maiden over in the innings, nor is there usually in T20 cricket. Sam's 3 for 45 in 4 overs. That's a good return, having conceded 25 runs without a wicket in his first over. Sam Cook 4 overs, 1 for 32. Dan Lawrence 3 overs, none for 30. Ben Allison, I thought, was very good, 3 overs, 1 for 22. But Simon Harmer, the skipper, once again magnificent, 4 overs, 3 for 18.
Yeah, that is superb. That is superb. So in the final reckoning then, Essex win by 28 runs. Congratulations to the Essex Eagles. They're into the quarter-finals. Thanks so much to my colleagues from BBC Essex, Dick Davis and Paul Newton. We'll be returning to you to your programmes on DAB, on BBC Radio Sussex. It's Alex Dyke, and then on BBC Essex, it's Nick Risby. And the news follows us. Thanks a lot for joining us here. Defeat for Sussex, victory for Essex. They're into the quarter-finals. From Hove, from myself, Andrew Raven, and the rest of the team, it's good night. I just heard the theme and rapped. Sorry, mate.
Yes, well done yourself. Thank you very much.
No, brilliant. Thanks a lot.
Sounds app on your smart speaker and on your radio.
The sound of where we live.
And BBC Radio Surrey.
Top work, mate. Well done.
The MP who resigned his government job yesterday has been suspended by the Conservative Party in response to allegations he groped 2 men at a private members club.
Right, I'm going to go and get some reaction, mate.
And increasing pressure to take disciplinary action. The assistant editor. Mr. Pincher's suspension was inevitable. I think a lot of Conservative MPs were quite unhappy with the suggestion that the matter was closed because he'd apologised and resigned.
I said to Dick to try and grab somebody as they went off.
He was the one who was
That would be a
getting
good idea.
Yeah, he's very good.
Anyone. It doesn't really matter.
Police officers have been sacked for making comments in a group chat which included a racist joke about Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. The tribunal found PC Suk Dev-Jia and PC Paul Packard, who worked at Bethany Green in East London, were guilty of gross misconduct.